Welcome, 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 everybody. Welcome to Twisted Strategy, where we follow all the twists and turns wherever they lead. I am your host, Elise, and I would never forget about you guys. I would never forget about you guys. I was trying to set up my new tech tomorrow. Hopefully, it should be up and running. I didn't have time to finish it this morning, so we won't have any more buffering issues. We shouldn't have any more issues. I was just trying to sync the two screens together. And I was having a hard time doing that before this specific stream. Yeah, I want to put that on silent. So I hadn't. I just kind of abandoned ship so I could do the show, but I was trying to get that set up for today's show. Clearly, it won't be done until tomorrow's. So I'm working on it. I promise. So my mic is low. Oh, it's because it's way over here. Is that better? Because it's closer to me. Or do I've turned it down because the other day I turned it down. Because is that better? We were getting some feedback from the speakers. I didn't want that to happen. Okay, perfect. So we're going to talk about a few things today, of course. But I apologize for being a little late today. I would never forget about you guys or my Sunday show. I like my Sunday show. Thank you, Leah. Thank you so much. It's nice to see new names. People popping in for the last week. Lurking is okay, Francesca. We have lots of people that lurk in the bushes, right? And then some people come in and gift memberships and shake the bushes, right? So we have that too. I have a question for all of you, though. You were. So I don't know if it was me or B Tim, but I used my 10 memberships the other day that I have per month to try to give them to some of you who are here all the time. And I mean, I failed miserably because I don't get to choose where they go. YouTube chooses who they go to based on, I have no idea what the criteria is other than being a subscriber to the channel. But I tried. So everybody who got one, I'm glad y'all got one. Hello, Carolyn. So I used my 10 for the month though, so I have no more left. But what is happening? Am I already not? Why are my comments not working here? Oh, here we go. Sorry, it was frozen for a second there, people. Okay. I have my coffee as well. I can't function without coffee. You guys know this. It's just not functionable without coffee. Bit over here though, so it's not in my way. I have my notebook. I got to get a new notebook, FYI. Also, I need new floofy pens, and I just realized that because of the new setup I'm going to have without the laptop, I need two things. I need a mouse pad because I don't have a mouse pad for the mouse, so that's going to be obnoxious. The keyboard is here. I have the keyboard, and it's pink, as you guys must have figured, right? And the mouse, which is also pink, but I need a mouse pad. And I need speakers because the computer itself, the tech itself, that I was gifted is like the tower, but it's like a mini tower. And so it goes to the screens, but that means that I have no speakers. So I either need to make sure my headphones are charged when I find them. I was looking for them this morning, 100% always. I don't know if it'll last a whole show. That's the problem. Or get speakers and or a mouse pad. Maybe a mouse pad that has one of those things where your wrists lean, because that's going to be really obnoxious to type without one of those, like, you know, those gel things where your wrists lean. So, yep, speakers. Yep, I just realized it when I was trying to set up today's stream, and I was like, I can do this with both the screens today. And then I was like, oh, wait, I can't find my headphones right now. No, I can't. No, I can't because I can't hear anything. So I got to find my headphones after this so I can charge them up, because otherwise, I won't be able to hear anything. So I was like, wait, do the screens have speakers on them? And I looked and I was like, oh, shit, they don't. God damn it. I'm like, God damn it. So we're gonna go over some of that, Jennifer. We're gonna go over some of that. But I did want to make you guys familiar with what's called the JERS, JERS, JERS system. The JERS system is what the jury is going to use in deliberations. And I thought to myself, someone asked a question the other day. I can't remember what it was, like the specific question they asked, but it was about the jury nonetheless. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna, hold on. I'm gonna tell people how deliberations goes. It was something along the lines of like the jury deliberations, and I was like, I wonder if they know what the jurors system is. And so I was like, let me just make a post on the pages I'm on Facebook, because people have been asking a lot about the jury deliberations, things like that. So I was like, okay, let me just inform people, because it's important to know how the jury deliberates, at least get an idea of how they deliberate and what the process is. So the jurors system, so I'll put it in the chat so you guys know what it's called. And if you want to do more research after today, you can, right? But it's called the jurors system. And what happens is when things in a trial, and it can be anything like objects, yes, documents, things of that nature, once it is marked and then entered as an exhibit and entered into evidence, it can go into the juror system. Now, the taillight housing thing that they had was marked, but I don't think, like, they could ask if it's like a regular object to see said object themselves. They could. But most of it goes into the juror system, which in the deliberation room is a touch screen. And so the touch screen system will show them all of the exhibits in the case that they can look at, that they have access to as the jury through the jurors system. And so the jury will be able to be like, oh, well, we have this document that was entered into evidence about whatever, and then go through the touchscreen process of finding it, and it comes up on the screen. You can read it, look at it, make it bigger, make it smaller, whatever. So that's going to be part of what the jury is able to do when they're deliberating. Now, there are certain things that don't get entered into that. Like usually the witness testimony isn't always in there. They can ask for transcripts of a certain testimony, but that's why they are able to take notes. They're supposed to be taking notes on what they, think about witness testimony. So sometimes juries will ask like, hey, can we get the transcript of this person, that person, or the next person, on whether we can see what they said specifically or not. And sometimes the court will oblige, and others, the court will say, no, you need to, based on what you remember, based on what you wrote down, like you need to go over that. So, but most things that are marked as exhibits and entered will go into the jurors system that all the juries in Massachusetts have access to. Now, I'm not sure whether they're doing it in a way where it's one big screen for the whole of the jury in that room, or if they're each getting a iPad sort of deal, touchpad, where they can all look at it and, the screen. That I am unsure of. But the juror system in itself is made up in a way where everything is scanned in and found in one place. Now, if there's a problem that they have scanning it in, and like they can't read it or whatever, it'll be given to them physically to look at. So, or at least a copy of them to physically look at. So I thought it was important because I'm seeing a lot of questions about how juries work, how deliberations work. How is it going to work? What are they going to have access to? What are they not going to have access to? So I thought this morning that it would be important to at least let you guys know how it sort of works. No, the first jury didn't ask for any transcripts that I can remember. Thank you, Sarah. I always do a Sunday live. Always do a Sunday live. I love my Sunday show. No, I don't believe that they did ask for any transcripts last time that I can remember. Hi, Dr. Russell. It's nice to see you there, Dr. Russell. Hey, B. Tim.
What do you think of the rumor spreading around Twitter that it was the idea
of Karen?
Yeah, to show that video of the accident. Do you think it's true or do you think it's BS?
It's probably BS, but we do know that she runs her attorneys. So, I mean, they probably were like, hey, let's keep this out. But you have to remember, they have to turn it over. So if they already turned it over, keeping it out, then Hank would have been allowed to play it. So
yeah, I mean, I'm starting to know
smart one way or another.
I mean, she did say remember last week, she says, why doesn't he show like a dummy with 24 miles an hour backing into it? And
hey,
that makes
Dougie.
Hey, what's up? That makes me wonder if like they just sat there and they And they were like, because like you can see like Jackson was very uncomfortable in his questioning. He was very much like, I think that that could be true, because what lawyer in their right mind would be like, okay, we're going to show exactly the prosecution's theory that no lower body damage occurred. You can spin around, you can fall out of your shoes, you can shatter the taillight. Yeah, you can parallel. Justice for Trooper Paul.
Justice for Trooper Paul must have been like,
he's like, fuck you guys. I was right all along.
There's the goddamn pirouette that everybody said couldn't happen. Like,
and I passed that test the first time.
On the first try. It wasn't elementary, dear Watson. To him, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about. You have to remember, I'm not the only I have mods for a reason. Like, I'm not the only person that bounces people. I have mods for a reason, and I don't see anything that you have said thus far up until right this very second, my friend. So no idea. Well, her defense really wouldn't have a choice, Jennifer. The problem with that is she couldn't just omit it because it would get played anyway.
Well, don't you think it's a little odd that the false start that shows the damage to the shirt?
I think that's odd as fuck. Yes, I do.
And then like there's 100 deleted text messages. I have a feeling this is what I think other people are thinking, that their tests were becoming a little bit too close to what the prosecution's case was. And those texts were about, okay, can you do this to mitigate it here? Can you get rid of that video here? I think there's some shenanigans going on, because it's starting to make a lot more sense why there's 100 text messages now. And $70,000 for, you know what I mean? It's a little odd. That's what I think.
I agree. NC Highway Patrol retired. I also have numerous friends who are current state troopers and in other states and in this state, family members, and then also retired FBI state trooper, Massachusetts local PD, and other states, and they all disagree with you that it absolutely is 100% consistent.
You know what? You have to take that person's statement, NC Highway Patrol retired, as fact. You can't.
Yeah, no, that's respect your opinion. I just disagree. That's all.
I just love like someone comes in here and they're like, they change their name and then they think they're an expert. Are you the same expert with like Russell, Dr. Russell, who loves dogs and somehow became an expert? Like, listen, at the end of the day, let me tell you one thing. I've probably seen about, just from 2019 to now, I've seen about 1,500 car accidents. So I can tell you it's very consistent with a car accident. The issue is with her is that she kind of screwed herself in a few statements. One statement where she stated that she actually removed pieces of taillight pieces at John's driveway, which would explain the missing pieces that are not assembled at the scene. It could have been something that she pulled off. Another issue is she claims that there was a piece of glass in his, I believe, his nose or something like that.
Yeah, his nose. Yep.
So if he was basically, that all is consistent with what, say he had a glass in his hand and a car backed up into him and it shattered and it did that to him. And I believe some of the, like, I don't believe all this, the cuts or all the rips in the clothes, or just, I think they could be road rash as well, because you have to realize there's rocks on the ground, there's dirt.
He was half in a mulch bed, Tim.
Yeah.
He was half in a freaking mulch bed. What people seem to forget, that like, not only is it frozen ground, but he was half in a mulch bed and half on the ground. No, we're not going to all agree. That's kind of the point, right? Like it's kind of the point. No, we're not going to agree. If you're looking for an echo chamber of people who are going to agree with you, this is not it, my friend. If you're looking for a good debate, maybe, but not a place where there's an echo chamber where everyone's going to agree with you. That's not going to happen here.
Okay, let me list the evidence against Karen Reed. Okay, you got DNA in the back of the taillight. You got embedded taillight pieces in her clothes. You have taillights around John's, embedded taillight in John's clothes. Taillight around John's location where he is. A GPS location showing that she was the last person John was at before John stopped moving. You have omissions on the documentaries and at the scene. You have a motive of jealousy and anger and being drunk. You have an alcohol test the next day that showed that she was drunk in the hospital. and even the defense and the prosecution's accident reconstruction pretty much sealed the deal with a lot of speculation when it comes to the accident. So you got a lot of those, and you also have the brain surgeon that basically came in and said that basically when he hit the back of his head, he probably was going to be brain dead at that particular point, and that's why he didn't get back up. Also, you have the cell phone temperature dropping, which if it was in the house, that cell phone temperature at the entire time, the cell phone temperature would not drop at all. And if it was exposed to the elements and just left there and they just decided to toss him right on top of his cell phone, the temperature would have dropped really quickly. And I think the battery would have probably died a lot quicker because cold actually kills batteries. So you have all this evidence really, against her. And then the issue with the defense is that, they want to say, well, we want to do a Bodie defense and say they could have investigated other people. Well, the problem is that, number one, who else was driving at the time? Who else was basically had a motive to kill John? I mean, you can argue and say, well, Higgins, but Higgins is, I would say, Karen Reed being jealous and drunk is a bigger motive than Higgins laxy-daisy. Once in a while, Karen Reed came on to him. There was no, like, you saw the Texas Strange. That wasn't some hot in heaven, I will kill for you, Karen Reed. That was more of a shit that you would probably expect to be read in a court. I mean, to be honest with you. So there's overwhelming evidence against her. And the problem is a lot of people have already chosen their sides and what they believe in. And no matter what you tell them, they won't believe it. And there are some content creators that are just simply riding the wave. I mean, you got a noted objection who's basically, I saw a TikTok video, who basically had the same thought of mine as me. I was like, why would you ever show that video on the screen over and over
so
again?
Bad. So freaking bad. It's just, to me, it's like, are you guys all freaking right? Like, what in the actual hell is wrong with y'all? Like, why would you show that? Why would you show that? Like, we don't need, what do you mean 0 pictures? There's dash cam footage from 8 in the morning and her pulling out at 5 in the morning, showing the taillight in the exact same condition. So like, that would be a lie. That is a bold-faced lie that there's 0 pictures of the SUV before it was put on the rollback. That's false. There's dash cam video of it.
I mean, the fact is that you have the video from the that was taken from the dash cam, of course. Now, I mean, like, what I feel like what you're trying to do is you're trying to push the goalpost even more and more.
Yes,
the fact is that, let's say she says she broke her taillight on backing up into John's car. That's her own statement that she made to the press and to her defense. Now, if you look at that car, there is no way that taillight cracked at all. And Proctor had no time to break a taillight and run to the scene and start sprinkling taillight and embedding taillight pieces that are as small as a grain of rice in his clothes.
Is a tow truck called a rollback anywhere in the United States, or is that more like something from the UK? Because I have never heard a tow truck called a rollback.
It could be. I don't know. Who knows?
Never heard that ever in my life. But I'll tell you this much. Just because first of all, it was snowing out. So you're not going to get good pictures, number one. Number two, just because he didn't take pictures of it doesn't mean the damage wasn't there. So by you trying to say, I would have taken pictures, so because he didn't take pictures, that means it wasn't like that. We have video and pictures from dash cam footage of that taillight, and it is in the same condition that is in later on in the goddamn Sally Port. To ignore that is disingenuous. All right. To ignore that, it is absurd, especially if you are a retired police officer. Come on now.
I mean,
you know better than that.
The issues are not only is, the allegations of the prosecution and their evidence, it's her own admissions that line up with what the prosecution is stating. And even the defense witness, which, by the way, I don't care if you believe Karen Reed's innocent, and you have to sit there and state that attorney putting that on the screen and putting that test like that was a bad decision. It was a terrible decision. A lot of the decision from the defense has been very bad. You have to be fair about it. If I was, there's one mistake.
A regular wrecker. It's not a wrecker. It's a flatbed.
Okay.
A wrecker is a regular tow truck that just picks it up. A flatbed is one you can drive it onto. So those are two totally different things. And you're telling me that you used to be a retired police officer and you don't know the difference between a wrecker and a flatbed?
Well, maybe it is what it is. It could
Come
be
on.
that they don't know. In life lesson happens. But I mean, like the issues of the cases is that, her lawyers have, in my opinion, dropped the ball completely. You have a situation,
Hugely.
their first witness was a guy that they were arguing who didn't even do his own test and was arguing over 30 seconds when his calculations could have been wrong. I mean, that's the crazy thing. And probably the jury completely forgot about that guy. The next witness was who was the second one? I'm trying to remember the exact order of witnesses.
For who? The defense?
Defense, yeah.
Oh, okay, so yeah, they first did that. The first guy there that did the criticizing. I can't even remember his name.
Yeah.
That's how unmemorable that
That's
was
pretty bad.
to begin with.
You have another witness that I can't even. I know Lucky came up. Lucky was terrible. I mean, basically, he actually helped the prosecution because since he didn't see a body, how would other people passing by not see a body at that particular time? And also the fact is he wasn't really good at seeing anything because he didn't see a dumpster on the side in someone's front yard while driving and hit a thing. His eyewitness account is, and also he was threatened, by the way, so his credibility is called into question. Another lady that was like a pick-me that wanted to be on a jury for some reason. They thought it was a brilliant idea to bring her up there.
Yep.
You have Dr.
She was
Russell.
such a pick-me. Like,
yeah. You have Dr. Russell, who basically I think I could bribe her to testify with a roast beef sandwich and a soda pop. Her expertise is that she basically helped write a book 30 years ago, and she worked as a nurse. And somehow that makes her an expert in a science that is not accredited, which is dog bite patterns, which is she was basically, her report was not only put together, as she puts it, formatted well, but also underlined parts that she would testify to, and she broke the sequestration order. She's not a reliable witness, and doesn't have a lot of credibility. You have Officer Barrows, who at first was a very good witness for the defense, but then he backtracks and says, "Yeah, it's the crack is just like how it's imaged. You're showing it to me." So that's not good. And then that's not the way you should have done it.
Navin's right. I talked to Navin this morning. It was DeSogra. That's the guy's name. DeSogra.
Yeah, thank you, DeSogra.
That's the guy's name.
And if I'm forgetting the guys, like, Proctor's friend, thank you. If I'm forgetting the order of things, what do you think the jury's doing? Like, you got to realize you got to pick the most memorable people, and they've dropped the ball. They should have, in my opinion, and I think this is a drop the ball situation for the defense. They should have called Proctor. I don't know why in God's green earth they never called Proctor the defense. I was just waiting for the day they would call Proctor and have him up there for 2 goddamn days and just cross him. And just do that. But I think there's something that they're scared about. They don't want to call Proctor for some reason, and they're scared.
Okay, they are. And let me explain something to you, Paloma. Okay, not every police officer takes a picture of everything you think that they should. That's not the way that it works. Okay, so to ignore the fact that Proctor and Buchanan did not take pictures of the purported murder weapon at her parents' house is disingenuous. Your statement is disingenuous because not every officer takes pictures of everything that you think that they should. Just because somebody told you it was a conspiracy because the picture wasn't taken doesn't actually mean it's a conspiracy because a picture wasn't taken.
I mean,
it's not the way it works. It was also blizzarding outside. You're not going to get a good picture of it until there's no giant blizzard in front of you while you're trying to do that. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think like we can all agree that there was shortfalls in the beginning of the investigation that the police could have done better.
They could have done better. There's
I mean, like, we can all agree on that. Obviously, they made mistakes.
Pictures of it before it's ever at Karen's parents' house, would show it literally in the same condition it's in when it goes to the Sally Port, and it's in that condition. So,
let me see. This is such an
Dr. Russell is an idiot. Just FYI, the lady is a bold-faced liar and an idiot. Not
like
going
Dr.
to
Russell. I mean, let me ask you a question. Sorry. I'm going to ask this question at an individual. If let's say the prosecution brought up
you're retired like 30 years ago. Like,
yeah, if the prosecution brought up a witness and basically, and then basically said, hey, we basically wrote her report and we're underlining exactly what she's saying. And then afterwards, we're going to talk to her to exactly what she should tell the lawyer in a cross. You would call that corruption. You would call that that person was not credible. Can we all be honest?
Oh my God. Here comes all the trolls. Okay, here's the thing. Solo cops don't make Karen innocent or guilty. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that
solo cops, dot dials, all the ridiculous things you people scream from the rooftops. I'm going to tell you this right now.
Well,
I'm not putting up with. This is my Sunday show. Okay, this is my Sunday. I am not putting up with trolls today. So if that's what you came here to do, was troll and spit out nonsensical things that don't make any sense. Solo cups don't make her innocent or not innocent. Okay. By the way, listen, the best practice of using a cup is a plastic cup. If you don't have the exact ones, is a clean plastic cup.
I think that they were working with the things they could have done better. Obviously,
they could have done better. But I'm saying we're talking about
the plastic.
Canton PD. Yeah, they didn't have plastic's what you're supposed to use. You're supposed to use plastic.
I disagree. You're supposed
best practice is plastic. That's what they use as evidence cups, plastic.
Not from the FBI book I have on the FBI practices and procedures of evidence gathering. But because I remember I looked that up because I was in a debate about that. And I was like, okay, is this plastic? Is it going to be a bad situation? And it unfortunately wasn't great. But luckily, it wasn't, it's a moot point. There wasn't exactly use. I mean, but truthfully.
No, they didn't even use it. It's his blood. Yeah. It's his blood. Nobody's saying it's Karen's blood. Nobody's saying it's someone else's blood. It's John's blood. So what does it matter?
Yeah, I just think the fact is that there were certain things in the beginning they should have done. For instance, one of the things I think they should have done is in the moment that woman started saying, I hit him, they should have put her in handcuffs. They should have taken her down for questioning.
I agree with you. I think they were trying to give her the benefit of the doubt.
I think they gave a lot of people the benefit of the doubt. For instance, they not only interviewed the Alberts at their house, but they also interviewed her at her house at her convenience. They should have taken every single one of them to the station and questioned them individually, including Karen Reed. And everyone. That's what I think should have been probably done. I can agree on that. Because if they would have done that, Karen Reed probably wouldn't get. But what happened is I think Miss Reed's father knew what was going to happen, and that's why he claimed that she was going to try to unalive herself. So he wanted to get her out of that scene to get her into a hospital so the police wouldn't be able to question her. And I think that's the main reason. I think there's obviously it would be great if they took pictures at the scene, but these are things that you can argue that things could have been done better in the beginning of the investigation, but at the end of the day, it doesn't discount the evidence in the case.
It changes nothing in the way of car data or John's phone data, which literally shows that car backed up and John stopped moving forever seconds later and is found in that exact same spot that his phone is found in. As that temperature battery goes lower and lower and lower until he's found again at 6. And then it goes up again and his phone starts moving, proving that he had been there the entire time. Karen herself is the one who said she tried to get the phone out of his pocket when they found him. So that again proves it was there with him the entire time.
I mean, in the end of the day, it's the officers are not perfect and it was not a perfect condition, but it doesn't.
Bye, Kristen. Go troll somewhere else.
Okay. It doesn't discount the evidence, and the evidence is what it is. I mean, if I was on a jury and I heard this evidence and what the jury's being shown, it's pointing clearly to her being guilty. I mean, I think so. But could she get acquitted? Could she get a hung jury? Anything is possible when it comes to a jury. But I think if you're a lawyer and you're looking at the tactics of the defense is terrible. It's not good. It's not good as last trial.
I mean, you're talking about a bunch of people that have no idea that the defense is doing so horribly. They are a sinking ship going down, proving the Commonwealth's point over and over and over. And you got a bunch of zombies screaming, "Oh my God, they're doing so great!"
I mean, let's pull it.
Delusional world do you live in?
Let's break it down though. Let's really break it down. Lucky, how does Lucky hurt the defense's case? Well, the defense was pointing out how could no one see a body on the side of the road? Then they bring in Lucky. He doesn't see a body on the side of the road because it's blizzard and it's dark, and he doesn't even see a dumpster in the front of the house, and he doesn't see something that he hits. That helps the prosecution's case. And also they bring in the fact that he's been intimidated, and they brought in the fact that the moment he didn't talk to the defense's private investigator, a blog was put onto him. This is not good for the defense. Another issue is Devers. Bringing Dever on that stand to basically say that she was threatened by the defense to lie and perjure herself is a bad tactic. These are bad tactics by the defense. What they needed to do, in my opinion, was to basically get legitimately good phone guys and legitimately good car accident reconstruction people. Don't bring in those two same clowns from last trial, because those guys are going to get impeached like crazy. They should have grabbed two other guys from that organization.
They should have.
And
that would have been the smart thing to do.
Yeah, realistically. Another thing is they should have brought in Proctor. I don't understand this thought process, because the problem is they took out the teeth of how bad those text messages were. And don't get it twisted. It's unprofessional, those text messages. You shouldn't be talking about your case and insulting people. But the fact is that it doesn't talk about a conspiracy. It doesn't talk about anything planting evidence. It just shows a guy who is basically doing locker room talk very disparagingly against people he shouldn't be doing. He shouldn't be talking about a case with his friends at high school. But realize this, everyone does that. Everyone does that. And the fact is that it's not something, it's not something that's done.
Well, there's a lot of this. Oh, well, they didn't take pictures. And first of all, it was I think top 3 worst that Canton had seen, according to Snow, in the last, a lot of years, basically, when it came to Snow. And so we're like, oh, I don't take pictures and blizzards. It's like, you have no idea what they tried to and what they didn't try to do. They attempted to secure the scene with tape, but as soon as the tape started flying, they knew there was no way the tent was going to stay down. Things not going to stay down. The winds, even to the account of Karen, were howling. Mm-hmm. They were so freaking loud because they were blowing. And we know how high the winds were.
Yeah.
We also know how much snow. Most of us live in the area, so we don't forget what it looked like outside. Okay. Whether they took or didn't take pictures does not change the other evidence that we have. So to say like, well, they didn't take pictures, so I mean, hey, she is innocent, right? Because they used solo cups and didn't take pictures. The solo cups were used for John's blood. Proves nothing.
You got a question in the super chat, by the way.
Thank you, Rena. She said, what are the repercussions for not bringing in Proctor? Well, none really for the Commonwealth. That's really the defense's problem.
Yeah,
Hank did that deliberately. And that is called a legal maneuver. He didn't need Proctor to prove his case.
Because the thing is, if you notice, I was watching other attorneys, and they pointed this out as a weakness of Jackson. And I started looking at Jackson's cross and direct. Yep. His weakness is direct. He's so used to crossing and leads. Now, if you don't know procedurally, in direct, you're not really supposed to lead. You're supposed to ask a question and then that person answers. In cross, you're like, it's a lot more leeway for leading. And and you notice that when he was doing direct with the ARCA witness, he was leading too much. And that was with all those objections going on and stuff like that. And the fact is that, it's a problem, because if let's say they call Proctor, they would have to ask him questions. They couldn't lead him. They couldn't badger their own witness, and they can't just call him for the sake of impeachment. So they would bring him in, and he would just talk about the whole situation with the case. And worst they would have him do is read the text, but they couldn't do anything else. They couldn't accuse him or do a cross or a real vigorous cross. And that was the tactic. Another issue is that this is speculation. I don't know if that would be allowed in court. I don't think so. But people
speculation,
no, not the speculation. This is the speculation. The speculation where people believe that Proctor's not being allowed in is because he read Karen Reed's text between her and Yannetti, and he knows, and he might just blurt it out. He might blurt out a question, because unfortunately Jackson makes this mistake a lot, which is a mistake that no lawyer should do, is ask a question you don't
know the answer to.
Yep. Yeah. And he might open the door. And since Mr. Yannetti statements were said by Karen Reed, there might be a potential that the judge says, yeah, you
already talked about it. It was already in a clip. Yep. It's open.
It's open, and I can talk about it, and I can bring it up again. And that's a problem. And I think that's another reason. But that could be possible. I don't know. But I think Proctor should have been brought in. I think Proctor, you need to put a face on it, and you need to make sure that with a case like this, you need to make them forget about the facts and think about the speculation to win.
I mean, Sarah Lynn said, do you think either side of the mock jury trial going on at the same? They usually do mock jury trials before, not during the trial. But they very well could have somebody critiquing, but it doesn't seem to me as if they're taking any critiques. If they were, they would have rearranged a few things or started not doing some of the big mistakes they're making. And Joy's right. The cops can't win, right? If they arrested her at the scene, they would have said, oh, that was a rush to judgment. If they don't, and they take time to build the case, then the Free Karen Reed scream, Commonwealth lacks evidence, or they would have arrested her immediately. So again, it's the same thing when it comes to like 7 other elements of this. It's if Brian Albert had come outside and walked on his lawn, they would have said he was tampering with evidence, right? Like, but then you want to complain he didn't come out onto the lawn. Well, he wasn't out there because Sean was already taken by the time he was woken up. There's a cop, mind you, in his house. So I love when they say no cops were in the house. The cops went into the Albert's house. They were in the Albert's house. Okay.
Well,
John was already on the ambulance when they were awoken. So
another issue is that a lot of the defense witnesses are literal Free Karen Reed people, and that cuts down on their credibility a lot when they're called in. Can you trust the for instance, let's say you brought in a witness for the prosecution, and they were like on Albert, that they were like literally like Team Albert, we love them, we love the Alberts, we're actually at the pizzeria every day, we love them. Would you believe any word they said? You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. Like, these witnesses lack a lot of credibility because of that, and it's just very biased, and unfortunately, it hurts their case. When I look at Dr. Russell, I see a paid shill. I see someone that was basically wanted to get famous and wanted some cash, and has not really any experts. What's the next one? They're going to bring a medical examiner that didn't do 1,500 autopsies and is a discredited person. Aka, his wife, he lied under oath when asked about his wife being in the Karen Reed movement, and he just, he knew that question was coming, but he still lied under oath. The guy, these are credibility issues from a lot of people, including,
huge.
You know what I mean? And that's a problem. And that's it's something, if I was on a jury, I'd be like, okay, that lady's being paid off to just say this. And there's another thing I think Kevin from Yellow Cottage Tales said that was very interesting, which I think a lot of people don't bring up and people forget, is that we're so used to the idea of like fair and balance and both sides and there's no dog in that fight. But realize this, each expert is paid by one side to do something. And the defense's experts are paid to say something favorable for the defense. They're not going to say something unfavorable. And at the very least, the prosecution has ethics to try not to share all their discovery and stuff like that. And it doesn't look like the same has been done by the defense.
It's the trolls go after the same 3 phones and butt dials and solo cups. Does that make Karen innocent of anything? No. Does it take away the phone data and her car data, which, by the way, the defense is not arguing that Karen is not the one who backed that car up at 24 miles per hour at 74.5% acceleration seconds before John's phone stops moving forever. They're not arguing. None of that happened, by the way. Do you want to know why? Because it happened, and it's in the data. So they can't.
Well, the data is the data, like Karen Reed said.
Right.
Another issue that you have is that you have a situation where they might not bring back Green. So who are they going to refute? The cell phone data person.
They had one other technical expert, I thought, but Green was spotted at the courthouse. So why would he be at the courthouse if he wasn't going to testify? That's another thing. Exactly. So I'm sorry, but like, it stands to reason that if you back a car up at a high rate of speed, you're not doing it on accident now, are you? Are you? Are you backing it up on accident? Is that an accident? No. Like, no, it's not. It's just not.
I agree. And another issue is, and this is a pretty important issue that I think a lot of attorneys who are Free Karen Reed people are missing, is the woman doesn't look like a person that wouldn't hit her boyfriend with jealous rage with her car. She's jumping up.
Mad.
She is in these suits that make her look hard. She's doing these weird facial expressions with like Lori Del Bell shit. She's argumentative. She's making facial reactions. She's going up to the judge. It's not something you would do, because the thing is, the jury is looking at you and they're judging you. Because this is what I tell people all the time. everyone judges everyone. You walk through the door, they're going to judge you. That's just how it is.
Oh yeah.
And the jury does the same thing. And when they see a woman like that acting like that, it starts making them think, yeah, I think I could see her getting angry and backing her car up into a man, because she just looks like that.
I agree with you. I mean, real life, how is Hank slimy? Hank has followed the law. He has followed all the things he's supposed to. He's not making blatant violations to the court.
Someone said they sent you something.
Yes, I just got it. My husband just brought it in. I am going to love this thing. It's a hot and cold pack you put on your back, and a little fan, which I need for this room.
Oh, nice.
I just got them. My husband just brought them in. So thank you, Scorpio. I appreciate you for that, my friend. It's going to keep me cool while I'm here with you guys, so I'm not, dying of heat.
Yeah. I think like people that say he's slimy are just angry that he's good.
You're just mad that he's losing. Like he has no prosecutor mindset. You realize that like he's one of the top 10 lawyers in.
I mean, to be honest with you, I've watched attorneys that are a lot more neutral that they don't have, and they say that his cross was fantastic. He did and you have to admit that his cross of the ARCA witness was
brilliant.
Masterful. It was
brilliant.
And I would argue that even Jackson's cross of Trooper Paul was actually pretty good, actually, at that particular time. He did a pretty good job kind of disillusioning the jury with the whole semi-running, like the curl thing. But you have to realize that like Hank did a good job, because Hank has an ability that I haven't seen by a lot of lawyers to digest so much knowledge about a particular section of like mechanical engineering and accidents and all this and cell phone data. And I haven't seen that from a lot of lawyers.
Real life, have you ever watched a court case before? Of course the prosecution they cross all the defense witnesses. What are you talking about?
Yeah, they're not only that, they're going to have a rebuttal. They're going to bring back their car accident guy. And they might.
What are you talking about? The prosecution absolutely normally crosses. How do you think that they do a case? They don't just not cross witnesses.
Can I give you some helpful advice, Miss Twisted?
No.
That person is knowing that they're trolling you, and you got to calm.
I know that, but I just think it's so funny you would say something so absurd to me. Like, but I have to see, the problem is sometimes I just ignore it, but like I have to correct it because it's so effing stupid. It's so effing stupid to say the prosecution doesn't normally cross.
You know what? Can I say something in real life? And let me say this. You don't win. Who gives a fuck about someone's attitude? Jackson has an attitude with every single witness.
Bingo.
Should his client go to jail because he has a bad attitude with his witnesses, or is he fighting vigorously to make sure his client doesn't go to jail? The same thing with Hank. Hank is trying to convict this lady of a crime he believes she committed, so that John O'Keefe's mother can get some sort of closure, so the family can get closure. Just because an attorney has an attitude that you perceive does not mean that they should lose. And actually, that's part of the instructions from the jury, that you're not supposed to make your judgment based upon if you like an attorney or not. That is an instruction that they give. So
yeah, I just marked. They said mark their words, so I just marked them for deletion.
Yeah, I mean, and any attorney telling you like, oh well, they just they don't like this. They don't know what's in the minds of the jury. The jury could be just loving it, the whole situation. They could love the back and forth. You just don't know what's in the mind.
It makes it exciting though, too. Sometimes that back and forth makes it not so boring for them, like it makes it a little exciting. Like,
and the fact is that the only person I would think the jury is looking at on their behavior is the defendant. They are wondering, and the witnesses, obviously, if the witnesses are sketchy, they're going to be like picking that up as well. Which I've noticed, some people have an issue with some of the Commonwealth witnesses. It is what it is. But the fact is that Karen Reed's attitude is very sketchy, and it's not good. And I would tell her to calm down, stop with the facial shit that she's doing, stop texting all day.
Fighting her own words.
Yeah.
In this trial. She's literally fighting her own words.
And I think the reason why there's such a stark difference between the first trial and the second trial is the first trial, her lawyers had her under control and were able to direct an actual defense. The second trial, they didn't have her under control. They let her do fucking documentaries. She thinks she's a celebrity. That's not what you do when you're in a murder trial. Your most important thing is to keep your mouth fucking shut, do what your lawyers tell you, and to hope that the jury doesn't convict you, especially if you're guilty. I mean, like, that's just how it is. And this lady goes on all these TV shows, documentaries, and she got fucked. She got absolutely fucked by that. And her attorneys, and then it's just so stupid. And she shouldn't be part of her defense. She shouldn't say anything. And I think she thinks she's a lawyer. And the problem is, you're not a lawyer, ma'am. You're not as smart as Alan Jackson, Alessi, Little, and you're not as smart as the other, I forgot, Yannetti as well. These are smart attorneys, and she's acting like she's smarter than them and not following their advice, I think. And that's why you
I think that's the thing. She can't help herself, right? She has to start being like, we're not doing this, we're doing that, we're not doing this, we're doing that. And it's like, Karen, why don't you let your lawyers lawyer? Because the decisions that you're making are not good for your own case, darling. Like, they're not. But also, I know many attorneys that said if their client acted that way, they would have said, listen, I can't represent you anymore if you can't let me do my job. I can't. I cannot.
That whole video was definitely not Jackson's idea to put on the screen.
I mean, he would have known that would have been bad. Whose idea was it? Because it was someone's.
That it was such a bad idea. I actually think, like, I've heard people like literally say, holy fuck. Like, that actually helped the prosecution case.
Absolutely.
Because you have to realize, Alessi spent all this time with the medical examiner talking about accidents and how there could be lower body damage more often than not, and all this stuff, and focused on it. And their goddamn own expert refutes the lower body damage. And then the worst offer, you remember that clip by Karen Reed? She said, I thought I ran over his foot.
His foot.
And what did the guy say? What did the guy say about the dummy?
Ran over the dummy's foot.
Ran over the dummy's foot while slamming into his arm. It's like, I'm kind of shocked he didn't play that clip right afterwards of Karen Reed to just stick that knife in. And I think he might. And that is
he might still, because we're not done, right? So with Dr. Wolf. So
the problem is that the client talked too much. The defense used a video, like the accident reconstruction, and then you show a picture of holes in his shirt from road rash, which was the original allegations of the damage of the arm, like the stuff on the shirt. And this is the problem with people not thinking neutrally. It's like they have failed, because if you think about it, they haven't given the jury a reason to believe in the conspiracy, which is a timeline of events in which they could see Proctor coming there. How is he going to close when he doesn't? We don't even know where Proctor was in proximity of where, he had the opportunity to smash taillights and put it there. Another issue is that the taillight could not have cracked from backing into John's car. So how did it crack? So it didn't.
Their theory is busted.
So basically,
taillight.
So basically, they can't explain that away, and they can't explain this away, and they're floundering. They're not thinking correctly.
No.
And I just think like you got to think neutrally with this thing. If I was on the jury, think about it. If you had no idea about this case, and you sat through the first prosecution's case, and then you see the witnesses coming out from the defense, and you're like, okay, the first witness, we're arguing about 30 seconds. Okay, great, fantastic. The second, and he didn't do any experiments or anything. Second witness, the officer said fucked up things about the person and got fired for it and was a real piece of shit. Okay, cool. Third witness, let me see. The third witness, what was it? Dever. Oh, she was basically she doesn't remember. Her memory's not good, and she doesn't remember seeing anything, and she was threatened by the defense to lie. Fourth witness,
possibly seen anything. She was gone.
Yeah. Fourth witness is, I think, Dr. Russell, and I would be like, okay, so this lady is basically saying whatever the defense pays her to say, and she can't even write her own reports, and she has no clue. And she's claiming that teeth have the same shape as nails of a dog. Fifth witness, you got Lucky. You got the officer Barrows, whose memory is not that great either, and who basically agreed with both the defense and the Commonwealth. So I don't think he's just like, he's not.
Went to the hotel of the defense for only to ask him when his vacation was and how to subpoena him.
Yeah. And then you're getting a theme of the defense paying off people and threatening people. And then you get another witness that basically is lucky that he gets threatened too, and he can't see a dumpster in the front of a yard. And then you get the next
dumpster. It was a big ass dumpster too.
And then to end it all off, you put the accident reconstruction person and you recreate the accident that the prosecution has claimed their case about and put it on multiple times.
Now, I don't know if you guys knew this, but the one where they did 24 miles an hour, do you know that that was the one where they made the taillight the hottest since they, quote, cooled it down? That one was at 33 degrees, not even freezing. Mind you, it was 18 degrees that night, 18. Now, why is it you think that they didn't cool that taillight down to the 18 degrees that it was outside instead of leaving it at above freezing at 33 degrees Fahrenheit? Oh, that's right, because it would have been easier to smash.
Yeah. And the issue is they didn't learn nothing from the first trial. The original juror that went on all these court TV's cases, they didn't believe in the
Ronnie, the juror, they didn't buy any of this, any of it, still.
I mean,
in the first trial.
But do you know what he said? He'd probably convict her based upon her statements that they're playing clips. And whose fault is that? Who allowed that idiot woman to go on documentaries? And this is the problem with people who are just say that the defense does the greatest job, because you don't give real criticism, so they don't fuck up, because these guys are watching social media apparently, and they're getting their tips from social media.
How sad is that? Like, listen, you can get tips, cool, but like maybe actually do research before you take tips from people who have no idea what they're talking about and they're just throwing shit out there. Like, okay, you can find a credible one once in a while. I'm not saying you can't, but to take things like, say, for instance, you went in there and was like, so the pig could have been a pig's ear, right? Completely discounting the fact that if a dog eats a pig's ear, there's saliva in their mouth and it's all over the pig's ear, which would then leave dog DNA, right? You got to make sure that you're actually vetting this information and not just plucking it from the internet and using it and then doing a complete fail on it. Like,
yeah, I mean, I just think like the fact is that the problem with a lot of people, the defense, is that they are doing this court case based on social media and not the courthouse. Yeah, it's great sound clips and all that stuff, but I just think like, and the problem with a lot of people, they are not critical of the bad defense. Because if you think this woman's innocent, then you should be fucking furious with the defense, because they have dropped the ball.
Huge, dropped the ball, huge. Yeah. Like, they've made some really large mistakes. First of all, you never ask questions you don't know the answers to. Certainly don't call witnesses that you know are going to tell people you threatened because they're not saying what you want them to say as some sort of Hail Mary to get them to still think that they're enough intimidated by you that they're going to say it. Like that,
I mean,
huge mistake. Huge.
I mean, like, I you know, this is how I'd probably think about what if they wanted to actually push the conspiracy. Yep. You bring in Proctor, you bring in Higgins, you bring in the cell phone guy afterwards, you know, like that, just to kind of argue the possibility of the cell phone kind of being in the house and whatnot. You bring in a better dog expert. That dog expert was a clown. So that woman needed to get off that place immediately. And if you are going to use her, don't keep her up there all day. Keep her up, just have her answer only about her, like the limited things, just to put doubt on the dog. Going into redirect, so this woman can be butchered on the stand is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire fucking life.
So stupid.
You need to just honestly, have her answer. Yeah.
Raymond, if you're actually asking that question, then I'm going to guess two things. Either you live in that echo chamber or you really don't know anything to do with the sewer turtle. And I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. What was he threatening him with? Destroying his life. And how does he do that if there's nothing bad to destroy his life with? He makes it up. It's things he's been doing for years. He will literally, somebody will pay him and say, I don't like this person. I said they did this, and this. He writes a story about it, checks no information, doesn't actually check, destroys their life with people harassing them until the end of time. That is what he threatened to do. Did you not watch the video? Did you not read the blog? There's 2 videos in a blog. We all saw them. Like,
yeah. And the situation is we've seen what he did to Jen McCabe and all these other people based on biased information. And this is what happens. Like, people think like, oh, well, I'm just a good person. There's nothing to hide at. The problem is that what they could do is they FOIA all your police stuff. They put it on their blog. They make up lies about you, and they go live about you every day, and then have their trolls and people fuck with your job in your real life to get you fired. And that's what happens to a lot of people. That's why there's people like me who's anonymous online, because there are fucking whack jobs that will do that. And imagine that you're in the middle of a situation like that. So I can understand Lucky. Lucky lost his wife, he said. He's in this bad situation. He's just trying to get by. He's not rich. He's living paycheck by paycheck, working these jobs. And then some fucking loon comes up and fucks with him. He's a victim too. I think he's kind of a coward, but I understand why he changed his tune, because his life was being fucked with and he couldn't deal with that. And I understand that. And I hope I hope no one bothers Lucky. I hope Lucky continues and has a good life, and hopefully
just lives his life outside of all of this nonsense. That's pretty much what anybody's trying to do. And it's unfortunate. I don't think there's any world where the sewer turtle avoids jail time, to answer your question, Scumdog, because there's about 1 billion other charges that they could charge him with currently right now if they wanted to, for the crimes that he continuously keeps committing, even while he's on bail, because he's that smart.
His lawyer needs to stop with giving him the Kool-Aid. His lawyer needs to be.
His lawyer is just as bad as he is, if not worse.
Yeah, his lawyer needs to tell him that you are facing possibly 10 years in jail or more.
Each charge.
Now, I don't think they're going to give it to him like each charge consecutively. But the fact is that you're facing a lot of jail time. And they got you dead to rights with a lot of your videos, and people are not going to like you based upon what you said on these videos. They're going to play these clips left and right about you and what you did, and you're going to be in a bad situation. And I think like he's getting that, and that's why he's talking about deals and stuff like that. But the problem is,
he knows. He also knows after that decision from the court that basically said the First Amendment is not going to be an excuse for these charges. He knows he's in deep now. You're in deep.
Well, the problem is that you have, I believe there is a law. Let me see.
For what?
Let me try to think.
Oh yeah, Karen definitely still thinks she should be in charge, Kings. I saw that comment you wrote that you showed your son. It's crazy to me. Wall B. Tim's looking at that.
Okay, so if you look at, I was looking at this, laughing at another attorney who's trying to use this to fight an appeal for an anti-slap, but this actually might be good against Turtle Boy. And it says Chalimsky versus New Hampshire, 1942. Words by which there are very utterance inflict injury or tend to incite an immediate breach of the peace. And this is a case where basically a person came up to a police officer and proceeded to say like things, very bad things, let's just say, to the police officer, calling him a fascist and all that. And that person was arrested and they went to jail. And this is an actual criminal case that you can look up. And those are considered fighting words. Now, if you look at Turtle Boy, if he was just online, you might have an ability to argue that they're not fighting words. But when he goes in person, he does all this stuff, he's not going to be able to hide behind the First Amendment. And this law is specifically to curb the First Amendment. It says fighting words are words meant to incite violence, such that may not be protected free speech under the First Amendment. The U.S. Supreme Court first defined them in the Chemlinski versus New Hampshire, 1942, as words which by their very utterance inflict injury or tend to incite an immediate breach of the peace. And that is the problem. So if he goes straight to the fucking Supreme Court, he's absolutely fucked, because he's
screwed.
Yeah,
he's screwed.
So that's why I think he's probably. So I don't think his first for his case, I don't think the First Amendment's going to help him too much.
It's not going to. There's already a decision that said so, and then you can bring that all the way up to the Supreme Court if you want, but he'll lose, and that's the thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, you poor thing, JT. You poor thing. Plot twist. That's not happening. I'm sorry that you don't really know much about the law and you can't see that like two really awful, terrible people have destroyed innocent people's lives and will continue to do so, and that they've been caught dead to rights. I'm sorry that you can't see that. I apologize for you, because one day you're going to feel real shitty about the things that you said and did when it came to this case to people you don't even know, to help two really horrendous, horrific individuals.
The issue is that does an innocent person secretly give grand jury minutes to another blogger to harass the witnesses to a murder trial?
Yeah.
No. Because that's how Turtle Boy got the information. He got it from
Karen.
That's
what I'm saying. That's how he got it. It was given to him by Karen. So this investigative journalism, he didn't investigate anything. Everyone wake up.
Now,
it was given to him by Karen on a silver platter. Her version of events was given to him. And then even that version of events that he put out there to the world, like taillight pieces were found on top of the snow, was later found to be untrue, false, completely and utterly false. And she put it out there because she didn't have the evidence yet that they have the video of them do it. So she didn't know yet. So she's putting out her version of events and he's putting it out there for her just to look like a fool in the long run and have half of it debunked just months later. He was fed information from a defendant. He didn't investigate anything.
Yeah. And the fact is that I think like Turtle Boy could avoid jail time possibly if he makes a deal. If he rats a lot of people out. Like
he would have to rat out every person in his inner circle and every other person like who has any stature or power.
Like
he would have to rat out every single solitary person. And I will promise you this, when you make a deal like that, if you lie one time, that deal is done. This man does not have the capacity to not lie. I promise you, he doesn't know how to. He has diabetes. He's allergic to the truth. So there's no chance, even if he made a deal, he would ruin his own deal.
I mean, I think he would have to the people they would probably be after would be Jackson, Yannetti, Karen Reed, try her for witness intimidation,
his own attorney.
Maybe not his own, because he can't do that, but you know.
Oh, you can. If your attorney committed a crime, you absolutely can.
Yeah, but let's say he doesn't want to do that. But let's say like they'd probably be very interested if he was able to be a state witness against those attorneys for witness intimidation and stuff like that.
That's the funny part, Wacko Jacko Whack Job, and your name tells it all, is I have this thing called evidence privately. I've sent numerous amounts of people to the state police to talk to them about things he has done to them that I have the evidence of, and so do the state police. So they could charge him at any time with those crimes.
What about the text messages that leaked that basically show that he was in communications with Karen Reed to intimidate witnesses that were leaked on Twitter?
They like to forget that. And that is a fact. It's 1,000% fact.
and the complaint, actually, it shows it as well. He definitely worked with Karen Reed and to basically intimidate these people. And he even stated it so much in his show. And the truth of the matter is that he's starting to get scared because he's realizing, like I said before, I've said this years ago, that he was a patsy. He was being a patsy or whatever. I can't say the word, but
he is a patsy, useful idiot.
He was used by Karen Reed. She fed him false information about an FBI investigation that was gonna turn everyone in. It would be a giant story, and he thought that he would be the greatest thing since fucking grilled cheese or whatever. And he got used. He got fed bullshit information and got used. And he's too stupid.
And now he's in too deep.
Yeah, he really doesn't quite understand that he's still being used. Mm-hmm. And if he was smart and he wanted to see,
I think he knows now, because there are certain things Karen used to, talk to him about or do that she won't now. And he's a little salty about that. He's a little salty. That's why he does a lot of little criticisms here and there of her, because he's salty about the fact that they talk to the Roccos and not him. And he's upset about that. Like,
yeah.
Karen, lots of lies. Karen, he tells lies, pretty much 24/7.
But what do you think of the fact that, particularly like Vinny, his Vinny's analysis of this case? Vinny,
he didn't like that. He didn't like it.
No, I'm just saying, like, what did you think of his thought process?
Of Vinny's?
Yeah.
I think Vinny's a shill, number one. But I mean, here's the reality: you can't say you didn't threaten Lucky. It's literally all over the internet, there, bud. Like it's literally all over the internet. And so I don't think Aiden really, appreciated court TV showing that he did, in fact, threaten Lucky. I'm sure he was not happy about that. And yes, he does have court tomorrow, but it's not for his case. People keep getting these things confused, saying like it's not for his cases where all the charges are from. This is just for his violation of the restraining order tomorrow. It's not for like his big stuff. So just know that it's not like all the rest of the charges. It's just for the restraining order violation tomorrow. I just want anything true coming from the defense. Well, that's the thing. All the people he has something over need to be known too. There are plenty of people who have went to the state police and provided their evidence of constant blackmail and threats, dog whistles, and all of it. it's real life. They could charge him at any point with the blackmail, with the threats, with the technically, if they want to do it, it's criminal harassment. Okay. There's and also wiretapping. We also know Lucky just admitted that he didn't know that Aiden was recording him. That is another wiretapping charge. They could charge him with that. They could charge him with the one from Steve Scanlon, or they could charge him with the various ones that they have found in his phone that they're going through right now. All the people that he wiretapped not knowingly. You know, there are multitude of crimes that could be, brought against him if they wanted to charge him with right this very minute.
Yeah, I think he's in a bad situation, and I think he's
but got a very tough fight. That's the problem, B. Tim. He doesn't learn. We're talking about as recently as just a month ago. He is still threatening people, trying to blackmail them.
How about this weekend? I heard that he was posting pictures of Hank's wife or some shit.
Yeah. Hank's wife, was of course FKR's new, harass Hank's wife.
What the fuck are you guys doing? Like this to me is like wild. Like you guys really are kind of fucking up your favorite person's case, because
it is a violation if he gets found guilty, but I highly doubt that they will revoke his bail based on that. So don't bet on it. That's for sure. No, he'll never admit it, Kings, but I think you're right. I think he absolutely knows. Victoria George was a PR stunt, Lisa, and I agree with Lisa here, which says Aiden stopped being a journalist and became Karen's mouthpiece because Lisa was friends with him, and she said to him, like, I'm a little concerned about this. Like, I don't think, like, she knew Karen was guilty and she knew he was being used, and he didn't want to hear it. And
I think like the fact that Nick is just lying. I think he gets his text from Karen Reed, and I think he's told what to say. Him saying that he didn't see those holes on the side.
It's absurd.
It's really an absurd statement. I mean, like, listen, in the end of the day, he's just a guy who got famous because he got lucky to win the lottery and he gave enough money to Karen Reed. I mean, that's pretty much
it. Correct.
That's it. I mean, and the guy's not that smart, unfortunately. I mean,
he's really not.
He's a good hairdresser.
That said he passed college with C's because C's and D's will still get you through. Like, what?
Yeah, he's a good hairdresser. I mean, we'll give him that. He has a
Nick Rocco.
Yeah, he's a good hairdresser. I'll give him that. He's got a business.
As long as he didn't do Elizabeth Little's hair.
Yeah, if he did that, then that's a crime.
Somebody should be arrested for what they did to that lady's head. Like, I don't know if he got on the list this week, but I'm not sure. That's a good question. I don't know if he's on the media list this week or not. I'll have to look into that for you guys and find out. Was he arrested today or last night? I don't think so. No. Why is somebody saying that he was? Usually if something like that happens, I know right away. So I'm going to say probably not, because I would know.
If he was arrested, I think it'd be on the fucking newspaper, to be honest.
Well, it wouldn't be right away. It wouldn't be right away, but if he was, I would know about it. I'll tell you that much. If he was, I would know. And I haven't gotten any information that he has, but he was on last night, right? Yeah. So said last night on the show, Hank's wife was fair game since Hank asked Dr. Wolf about his wife's Facebook activities. How sad do you have to be to actually correlate those things in your brain like that?
One is, listen, I think you're using internet logic without courtroom logic. The courtroom
that's
logic
what he says.
The courtroom logic is that you have to impeach a witness based upon bias. And basically, if you are part of your wife's part of a free Karen Reed group, would be just like if, let's say, the accident reconstruction guy, wife for the prosecution's wife was part of the, was eating at the pizzeria every day and part of the Albert's favorite Facebook group or something like that. It shows that his credibility there's something wrong with his credibility. And the issue is that he lied under the oath. He said he had no idea about it. He should have just said, yeah, she's part of it. I don't really dictate what my wife does. She does things I don't agree with all the time, or some shit like that. But he was foolish enough to say no and try to deny it by simultaneously stating that his wife was getting harassed, which, by the way, once you said that, the prosecution's going to look into your wife once you say that. So it's a very stupid.
He's not on the media list, y'all, because he does have court Monday and potentially Tuesday. Cinnamon Buns thinks that he would flip on himself flip on Karen to save himself. I mean, I think he'd flip on everybody to save himself. I don't doubt it, but it depends on what they're offering and what they're not offering. And I don't judge people either, Sarah, because I didn't finish college myself, and I'm an intelligent individual. What I'm saying is, for him, what he literally said to the public was, well, I passed college with C's because, like, that's still passing. And the most absurd, ridiculous stuff he feeds to his audience, he either knows isn't true or he's just that dumb. Like, that's half the problem with the dude, you know? It is what it is. And no, you don't have to go to college to be intelligent. You don't have to have a degree to be intelligent. Some of the most intelligent people didn't go to college.
Yeah, I think you can clearly see it with some people who have this huge amount of college education, and they're pretty stupid people sometimes. You could be book smart, but you can be pretty dumb when it comes to street smart.
Common sense and street smart. Yeah, I mean, it can go either way. I mean, we have plenty of attorneys that are idiots. That is well established. Doctors, we have bad doctors, bad everything. Just because you book smart pass doesn't actually mean you're smart.
But the fact is that, honestly, I don't know why Dr. Wolf lied about that with his wife. He shouldn't be that question
so bad.
Be asked. I don't know why he proceeded to do that. I think he should have just been honest. He should have just said, "Yeah, my wife does things. I don't have anything to do with."
Yeah, you got to be careful with anything that comes from Tom and crew. They actually most of the time have no effing idea what the hell they're talking about. But I will look into it just to make sure.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm gonna skedaddle. It's good talking to you.
Thanks, my friend. Thank you. I will look into it and see. No, that was last year. That was last year. If they streamed that, they must have just been replaying. That must have been last year. They must have replayed him being put in the paddy wagon last year. Because that happened last year. They pull him up by like his pants basically and put him in the paddy wagon. That didn't happen this week. That's definitely something they're replaying over again. Yeah, I mean, to me, it doesn't really matter whether you passed it on, on if you went to college and got a BA or that doesn't gauge your intelligence in my eyes. It gauges whether you can read something, remember it, and then repeat it on a piece of paper. But really not much else. The experts and their lack of education is one thing. You're talking about someone who's willing to sit there in public and say, well, I'm smarter than everybody else because I'm giving this opinion and it's not the same as this opinion, but I didn't pass a test that I myself called elementary. We have the right to criticize that because he's the one up there making these ridiculous assertions, right? Dr. Wolf made this ridiculous assertion about how it wouldn't matter if the 2-pound arm 2.4 pound arm difference versus using an arm that was 0.2 difference because weight doesn't matter, right? Mass doesn't matter. And then 20 minutes later said, well, the weight, the mass. And Hank's like, well, I thought 20 minutes ago when it didn't go to your, wasn't going to help you, basically, the weight didn't matter, but now the weight matters. Of course, the weight and the mass matter. Anybody who's a scientist or doing physics knows that the mass matters. It's part of Newton's law, right? And so to get up on the stand and lie about something so simple as whether mass and weight matter when calculating, you have to know that the scientific community is laughing at you. Like, why would you want to make such a fool out of yourself just to be like, okay, you're an expert. Do you think other people are going to hire you because you lie? More than not, they're going to look at you and say you're not a good witness because you can't even concede to the most basic of points. A good witness makes their point in their opinion, but also concedes to the really basic things that you really can't lie about without looking like a fool. Because it makes you look honest that you're willing to concede something that's not going to help your side if it is in fact true, right? And Dr. Wolf couldn't do that, Yeah, no, that was from last year. That video of him being put in a paddy wagon is from last year. Right, Uma? Yeah, that was last year. Whatever, that was from last year when he was put in the paddy wagon. I don't think they'll give him a deal. The damage that he has done and continues to do is not something deal worthy. Especially when it comes to the things that they know he'll continue to do because he hasn't learned any lessons. He's not going to learn any lessons, right? And that's half the problem. If you did miss Friday, though, I do think you should go back and watch, because the ARCA opinion and the way Hank dismantled it was beautiful. It was brilliant, and it was awfully stupid for them to show us exactly what the Commonwealth has been saying, which is a body absolutely can do that to a taillight. And they tried to avoid doing this exact same damage by making the taillight 33 degrees instead of, it was 17 or 18 degrees outside. So you made the taillight 33 degrees when you did the highest 24 miles an hour. And that taillight looked almost exact to what Karen's did. Now imagine if they had lowered the temp down to where it should have been, what it would have looked like then. Easier to break, would have broken into more pieces, but they didn't. The taillight was at its highest temperature on that test. Why? Why was that its higher? 33, above freezing, nonetheless. Above freezing, okay? I hate MCAS. I'm glad they got rid of it, to be honest. Oh, MCAT for med students. Okay. They replied, I could tell you time, date, weather, and underwear I wore the day I took that test. I mean, hey, there are some things you never forget because it's an important part of your life. So you probably do remember, you know. Oh, he'll start flipping eventually, but I don't think it'll be before he gets a hefty sentence. That's for sure, you know. Yeah, the LinkedIn thing was just crazy. How many of the people on the jury probably have a LinkedIn that they haven't touched in years? You know what I mean? Like, it's a social media thing, you know? Like, see, Lisa says she works at a university and there are quite a few PhDs who outside of their specialty are dumber than a box of rocks. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that. Not one bit. That's for sure. Cinnamon Bun says, I think TV most likely took receipts and pics of the signal text from, oh, he definitely did. You want to know why? Because he's one of those people that has to brag. He knew that they would be deleted in Signal, and so he took screenshots of some of them. Part of the reason why he didn't want them in his phones. The other parts of the reasons were all of the blackmail and all of the wiretapping that he has in those phones. Those are parts of the reasons why he didn't want them in those phones. But make no mistake, I fully believe he took screenshots of some things Karen said to him in Signal. He's one of those people that has to show people, look what I did, look what I did, look what she said, look who I was in contact with. It's clout. And I fully believe that that's in there. Yeah, that's definitely from the last time, because that's the only time he was putting up paddy wagon. You know, that was last year. Dr. Russell's credibility is a huge issue. So is their ME. You know, so is their ME. Their ME is going to be a very large issue. We're going to continue on with Dr. Wolf tomorrow. And that whole, and again, we're going to hear from Dr. Welcher again on rebuttal. The Commonwealth has rebuttal witnesses. Dr. Welcher being one of those who's going to debunk again, although Hank already has, the ARCA nonsense. Okay. ARCA just proved to the jury that a taillight can obliterate from a person's arm hitting it. That's what they just proved. All right. Dr. Wolf purposely used a almost 2.5 pound smaller arm. You know, I saw an actual statement today that one of these people said online, some of the stupidest things they say, but this was a good one, where the woman said to me in like a comment back on X, there's no report that shows how big or small, what the weight of John's arm was. That's just something Hank threw out there. Ma'am. Let's educate ourselves a little before we put things online that we don't know what we're talking about. You can calculate the weight of someone's arm. Okay. Just saying. Also, Hank did the calculation and had Wolf say if the calculation was correct. Right. See, that happened. And had you watched both sides and not just one side, okay, you would have seen that interaction where Dr. Wolf, in fact, confirms that John's arm would have been, let's see, because I have notes, I write notes, 11.86. And they could have used an arm that was 12 pounds and about, 0.2, a little less than 0.2 off. Instead, they used a lesser weight of 9.38 pound arm. That's a lot of bit of difference. And so for then Dr. Wolf to say that a 2 and almost half pound difference wouldn't have made a difference via the damage, every scientist from here to Kalamazoo is laughing at him. Of course it does. Of course it does. It makes a huge difference. And then the dummy was only 5'9", 170 pounds. Okay. Randy was about 6 feet. There was a 26.3% mass difference. So that means it would have been a 26.3% difference in the damage, which pretty much lines up with what Karen's taillight looked like. You know, Hank made some really good one-liners. We have questions about Randy. That was a good one. You don't like that question, then you don't like that question either, when he wouldn't answer it. And the problem was Dr. Wolf wouldn't answer the questions. He just kept saying, I don't understand. I don't know what you mean. And some of them were very straightforward. So to a jury, if it's a question they understood, they're expecting you as someone who does physics to absolutely understand what the question was. And it was very clear that he just didn't want to answer it, especially when it came to weight and what the difference would have been in the body movement and the damage if you had used a 12-pound arm versus an 11.86 to John's arm was 11.86 versus you using the 9.38 pound arm. Huge difference. Why wouldn't you're supposed to, just like Dr. Welcher did, try to get as close as possible you can to the real life of what happened, including the temperature. Why did you only use 31 degrees, 33 degrees? It was 18 degrees outside. And when you went 24 or 29 miles an hour, why was the taillight at the highest it had been, which is 33 degrees, not even freezing? One has to ask. You're doing it on purpose to skew the results. And of course, the jury gets to look at that. They get to look at that. They use different body pieces and different dummies. And like, why didn't you do numerous tests with the same dummy? Why didn't you do numerous tests with the same arm? When the one they had sitting inside, right, they stopped at 17 miles per hour. Now, if you think that they didn't actually test that at 24 or higher miles per hour, you would be wrong. They most certainly did. They just didn't produce that to the Commonwealth. Why, you say? Well, because I'm going to bet that that produced the closest result to what Karen's taillight looked like. So they conspicuously left off 24 miles an hour in that specific test. They only went up to 17 miles an hour on that test. Ask yourself why. Why would they only go up to 17 miles an hour? It shows the taillight flying towards the dummy. You know, when they had it on that arm with the bracket that they 3D printed, right? I fully believe this is her last Sunday, MYB. I fully believe that. There are so many double standards, and the hypocrisy is amazing to me. You know, his statements are more offensive than anybody on planet Earth because the way he talks about the people that watch him in private, how stupid they are, what they look like, how they'll just give him money no matter what. They'll just throw it at him. All he's got to do is say certain things. It's utterly disgusting, deplorable. He doesn't care about the people that watch him. He doesn't give a shit about the people that support him, which is just utterly disgusting. But I don't think he has the capacity. Talking about someone with cluster B personality disorders and in my opinion, full-blown narcissism, they don't have empathy or sympathy. They don't have that sort of caring bone in their body. All they can care about is themselves. That's it. That's all they can care about is themselves. They do not know how to care about anybody or anything else. They can have obsessions, but they can't actually care. You know? Oh, yeah, well, that's the thing, right? Change the arm mass and you're going to have different results. And that was Hank's point. And I'm sure on rebuttal, Dr. Welcher is going to make that very, very clear. You know? It's because they've been duped. They've been lied to. They think they're actually supporting a good cause and good people. They have no idea what is going to be revealed. But I do. And it makes me feel bad for some of them. It really does. I do have that thing called sympathy and empathy, and it does make me feel bad for some of these people who were along for the ride, but didn't commit some of the most ridiculous, smears of people and, harassment of people that just believed it. I feel bad for them. I do. I really, really do. I feel bad that this entire time they have been led to believe something that is not true and led to believe that these people and anybody who speaks up, including myself, we're all horrible individuals. We're all bad because he said so. It's really sad because in the long run, they're going to find out who he is. And some people will, the core member will never admit how bad he is, even when it's right in front of your face. It's like saying there was no holes in the shirt when there was holes in the shirt. In the ARCA test, you can clearly see it. It's like saying there's none. It's like keeping your blinders on, right? And there'll be a core member of them, but there'll be a lot of people that will just fade off and never talk about this again because they'll feel so bad. I know, because some of those people who have figured it out along the way have come to me and said just as much. And you have to feel bad for them, I've watched softballs go through windshields and back windows. Believe me, it'll smash the window. It is an easy way to look at it. You're right. She might, Dougie. She might. She very much might. Yeah, I had to admit later on that it would make a difference, but took about, 20 minutes of arguing about it wouldn't make a difference to actually admit that it absolutely would make a difference, She probably ran them over, or the plow pushed them, broke them. There's a million different things that could have happened to make them into more pieces than they were. But also, I think, the questions about Randy one was good. The stalling was extremely obvious. Extremely obvious. And the clown movements, once again, Frankenstein dummy. That's the thing. They've been screaming that an arm can't break a taillight for 2 years, and that, polycarbonate, so it can't break, it can't smash into pieces. This is the same stuff they've been screaming forever. Well, Andrea, here's the problem with that is not even Karen Reed knows which one of those people are actually going to be chosen to be the deliberating jurors and which ones are just going to be alternates. So I wouldn't be, if I'm her, I wouldn't be so chill and confident because I wouldn't know which one of these people are going to make it onto the deliberating jury or not. That's the reason why I don't believe that there is any. Because she wouldn't know which ones were actually going to make it on to be the deliberating ones and which ones are actually going to be the ones that are going to be alternates. She has no way of knowing. And I do believe in Hank. I believe that Hank would have spotted these people. I believe Hank would know if someone was being shady enough. Make no mistake, he watches the jury and they kind of tell on themselves pretty easily. Oh, they definitely do. The sewer turtle is apparently going to go do some trial prep today with his attorney. And that's it. That's what DJ, it's not that she actually is, or there's actually anything helping her. It's because she's literally locked in a delusional Delulu world where everything goes good for her and nothing is bad. It's not, there are certain people I don't feel bad for. Make no mistake about that, Jennifer. There are certain people I have not a bit of sympathy for, and it's their own doing. But there are other people who didn't engage in harassments and smears and who just believed this theory and just pushing this theory that Karen's innocent. Those are the people I feel bad for. Not the people who are smearing everyone, not the people who are perpetuating lies about others, not the people that are, insulting people. And I don't feel bad for those people. They know what they're doing. They're full-grown adults. We might have a verdict by Friday if we can get to the rebuttal witnesses by Wednesday at the latest, Wednesday morning, Of course they're going to say that's moving the goalpost, right? Move the goalpost. Well, why isn't his arm broken? Move it. Just keep moving it. And that's what you'll see is the goalpost will just keep moving and moving and moving and moving. And make no mistake, the defense is still trying to use ambush techniques. The problem is Hank's ready for it. He saw it coming last year. So he knew what they were going to try to do. Remember, he was a defense attorney at one point. He's dealt with the feds as well and corrupt feds nonetheless. Dr. Rentschler is not fearing for his life. Dr. Rachel is actually the most honest out of the two, Dr. Wolf and him. But, you know, Hank doesn't just stop working on the weekend. Make no mistake, all weekend this weekend, Hank has been working for this case. So I have no doubt that he may have some questions for Dr. Wolf tomorrow morning. Pretty good ones too, you know? The court should be, yes, monitoring their social media. And yes, someone is watching the jury. They always are. That's for sure. Hey, Heartstar. Well, that's another thing. You have to remember a lot of these people are bought and paid for, even including some of the YouTubers. They are bought and paid for. So they're going to say whatever pays the most. And right now, the conspiracy pays the most, as you guys know. I mean, I've had one super chat this entire stream. Speaking of which, if you want to donate to the channel, it is helpful and we definitely can use the support. You can do so one of a bunch of different ways. The best ways are the most direct routes to us and not to YouTube, which are Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. We have a link for those of you who need it for credit or debit. If you just want to do a credit or debit and don't have any of the payment apps, we have a link for that. And then if you do want the traditional route, which is we have memberships and super chats and super stickers. And actually, YouTube offered me something else today. Just popped up in my thing. I have no idea what it is. Tell me if you guys have seen this in other chats. Have you guys seen something similar to what TikTok does called rubies before in other chats? So apparently 1 ruby or 2 rubies is 1 cent to the creator, which is just absurd. But this is something they offered me today in my like YouTube studio thing to turn on or off. And I had never heard of it before. So I actually wanted to ask you guys if you've ever seen this or heard of it in other live streams of a thing called diamonds and rubies, where you buy them kind of like what TikTok does. It's like almost similar to what TikTok does. I didn't turn it on because I didn't do enough research on it to know what the actual hell it is. So you've not heard of it either. Yeah, I didn't turn it on. I felt like, I don't really like that idea. If I want to do that, I can do it on my TikTok, you know? Yeah, it's weird. There's a lot of gaslighting, Andrea. A lot of gaslighting, you know? A lot. Exactly, Kings. Exactly. But that's what happens when you have people. And again, if I took that off the screen too fast for you, don't you guys worry. It's actually in the description of the video. It's also on a ticker. See below Miss 101's comment here. Below her comment is a ticker that scrolls on the screen with the information for donation for the whole stream. That way, you guys don't have to pause or stop to get the information. It's also in the description of the video. And it's also in the description of the channel itself on YouTube. There's 254 of you total watching across 2 platforms. Do me a favor and hit the like button too. I'd appreciate that. I had my taillight and screen in the dash both break just sitting in the cold. It was -30, but it broke from being cold. Freezing things makes them break easier. Well, that's exactly why I believe they didn't lower it. They didn't lower it on purpose. They didn't lower it down to the temperature it was outside on purpose when they did that 24 mile an hour test for ARCA, because they knew it would be easier to break. It would be easier to break in small pieces. And they did not want to replicate what Karen did. So they chose to leave it at 33 degrees, which is above freezing, you know? He's great. You know, anybody who claims that Hank isn't a brilliant attorney has no idea about the law, about how court cases work, about any of it. They're just saying it because it sounds good for FKR side. Is, oh, Hank's awful, Hank's terrible. Anybody who says that is being disingenuous. That's half the problem, is people saying things they know are not true. Hank is one of those people I also have complete faith and trust in. I believe Hank can get this job done. I believe he already has, in my opinion, you know? Oh, yeah. The whole, the arm break thing. It's amazing to me how stupid people can be. Like, why not look into things before you make comments? Why not? Why not do a little research before reading 50 comments and then just, because the problem will be this. They'll hear the sewer turtle say something or one of their other quote leaders, and they will literally just echo back to you in a comment the exact statement that that person made. Go do your own research, people. Educate yourself. Take a little time to look into the things that are being talked about instead of just taking it from someone and regurgitating it. I tell my own audience to do their own research. I want them to. I want them to educate themselves because then they can help educate other people with the truth, not just with speculation or nonsensical nonsense, you know, but the truth of the matter. I can't wait either because we're T-minus some hours until tomorrow, right? Do we think she'll go nuts? I think she'll have a full business. You know, I believe there was domestic violence in this. You remember, domestic violence doesn't just have to be physical. And I think people forget that coercive control, manipulation, it's abuse. No matter what way you're doing it, it is abuse. If you are manipulating someone, if you are lying to them to get them to do what you want them to do, if you are leading them astray to get them to say or do what you want them to do, that's abuse. If you're putting them down, if you're trying to make them jealous purposely, trying to control their emotions, that is abuse. It is abuse. Okay. 24 hours of deliberations? I don't know. I don't even think it'll take more than a full court day for that deliberation to happen. You know, if they come back quick, that's an ultimate sign she's screwed. But I do believe that they will take some time because there's a lot of evidence in this case, but I don't think it'll take more than one full court day. So say, for instance, they start deliberating during like the middle of the day on a day. I won't expect them to come back until the end of the day, the next day, right? Like at least that amount of time. If they come back quicker than that, she's in big, big trouble, you know? And a lot of times the standard is usually like 3 to 6 hours. So, I mean, even cases that have lasted this long have come back in 3 to 6 hours, you know? But that's what they do. We know this, Joy, you know? I will say if there's a day that you think you want to hear, I think tomorrow would be a good day to watch because, you know, we're still dealing with Dr. Wolf here. And if Dr. Rentschler is right after Dr. Wolf, you can bet that that's going to be real good too. You know? Real good. That the whole "there's no evidence against Karen" is the funniest talking point that I've seen thus far. There's no evidence against Karen, but then you're saying she's set up. Which one is it? To be set up, there has to be evidence. No? Yeah, no, yeah, no. Yeah, he could have bounced. I mean, did anybody not else see the dummy do the pirouette that they said was impossible? No pirouettes, right? They made fun of Trooper Paul, except the dummy did a pirouette. Literally did a pirouette. I'm glad your dog's okay too. That's scary. You know, Hank had an entire weekend to go through stuff. Yeah, that's why I didn't turn it on. I didn't turn it on because of that. Yeah, you guys said you haven't heard of it. I haven't heard of it either. This is new. This is the new thing. I just, you know, they don't want to hear it, Andrea, you know? It is. 6,000 pounds of force wouldn't have been it because he wasn't hit dead center, by the back of the car. He was clipped by the side of the back, you know. I thought he was done too, but I think the judge told him he had to come back. So I guess not, right? Right? Spying on who's going in and out. I'm sure people know who's going in and out, but they damn well know they were breaking the rules. Make no mistake. Defense attorneys know what the rules are when it comes to being able to speak to someone while they're giving testimony. They know they're not supposed to, and yet they did anyway. And of all people, Mr. Alessi, the one who's the most with the banging of the fists and the screaming and the constitutional rights and rules and blah, 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 blah. Well, sir, why are you instructing your witness while they're giving testimony, sir? You know you're not doing that. So yeah, he was told he has to come back. I guess so. I guess how it works is like TikTok. Like you guys buy like gems or diamonds or whatever, and you spend them watching creators and like little pictures pop up. Well, that's what super stickers are. So I don't get it. I don't get what the point of it is. More like what TikTok does it. From what I can discern, though, it's not really worth it. Every 2 rubies is worth like 1 cent or something. It's kind of silly if you ask me. Yeah, I don't think Hank is done yet. You know, he's, yeah, one of the best in the country. Like, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. That's for sure. He doesn't act like. That's the other thing. If you're going to complain because Hank has an attitude, sorry, have you not watched Jackson the entirety of the trial? You know? Have you not watched him? He's been a rude asshole the entirety of the trial. So if you're going to complain that Hank had an attitude, like, settle down and take several seats, okay? Several seats. That's just absurdity. Let's see. Right? Doing something with his hands, Your Honor. Your Honor, his hands. His hands, Your Honor, his hands. Phone discards. Can you please explain? Because people are so hung up on the time frame and destroyed versus upgrade. Yeah, I love when they say destroyed. One of them turned their phone in to a actual phone store and got a new phone almost 2 years after this whole thing had happened. And he checked and said, hey, Commonwealth, is it okay that I get a new phone now? I've been holding on to this thing forever. I would like to upgrade. It's been 2 years. Is it okay? And the Commonwealth said, yeah, there's no orders in effect. Multiple orders have been denied for his phone contents. So Brian Albert turned his phone in. Turned it in. Didn't destroy it. Turned it in. There's a big difference between destroying it and turning it in for a new one. He didn't lock people out for a half an hour like Karen did to try to brick her phone the second time they came to get it. And she can blame the sewer turtle for that. You know? The fact that this is the problem though. They just repeat what they've been told. And since they've been told phones were destroyed, that is what they repeat without actually looking into what really happened, you know? And remember, all this nonsensical crap came up in the first trial, and guess what the jurors believed? None of it. None of it. They did not believe the conspiracy theory. What makes you think they're going to believe it now? You know, if she was housed with your business, that would be hilarious. You know, I feel like she's one of those people that would just go full like Superman into Hank shit business, like towards the judge. But hey, you never know. Right? Remember they said that you couldn't reverse at 24 miles per hour? I think ARCA did. I think Dr. Rentschler. You know, people did that. It happened. They did it. They did it. 4 hours. Less than a day and a half. You know, taking their time is one thing, but they've been sitting through this trial. So they're going to know a lot of things off the top of their head. And there are some people taking copious notes, you know? I think the judge throws the book at her at sentencing. I believe that. I know that the judge is defense leaning, but I also know that the judge has seen the shady business happening here. And I fully believe not only will she throw the book at Karen during sentencing, but I also believe that she will admonish those attorneys and will have something to say to them. Jennifer says a couple hours, 3 to 4 hours. Yep, Aperture gets a rebuttal. You know, usually, I know some other states have taken months to do sentencing. Usually in Massachusetts, sentencing is done fairly quickly. A week, maybe 2. They don't usually drag it out much longer than that. Sometimes a couple days, the day after. Like, they don't usually take a long time to do the sentencing portion. I know other states do. We do not here in Massachusetts. So I don't think she will give her the minimum or a slap on the hand. I think the judge knows the gravity of this. And I think just because she was defense leaning, that's what a lot of people believe. But I just don't think that that's going to happen. I think the judge is going to throw the book at her. You know, they made the judge look bad. You think the judge is going to take lightly that they made her look bad? She made herself look bad too. Don't get me wrong. She made herself look bad too. She's got to take some responsibility. But they also made her look bad. They knew what they could and couldn't do, and they continue to do it anyway. You know? They definitely are going to go through the evidence. I have no doubt. That's why I say, you know, anywhere between 4 hours and a day and a half, I'd guess. You know, a full court day and a half. But yeah, I think they'll know quickly and then they'll review the evidence. Like usually go in, take a vote, see who's where, and then you go through the evidence again, you know, however you got to get to it, you know, but hey, If they take that first mock vote when they get in there and everybody votes guilty, what more time do they really need? You know? All of it was abusive, Joy. You're right. For her to stay around when he tried to tell her, like, this is sort of run its course, it's done. Like, right? I pointed out when it came, if you were watching me when that happened, a quick verdict is a sign of a guilty verdict. Always. It's a sign that they knew what they were going to vote when they got in there. It's never really good for the defense if they come back with a very quick verdict. So I think they would know at that point. But the pirouette, I pointed out when it happened. I was like, does that look like a pirouette? It looks like a pirouette to me. Like, no, I think so. What happened, I looked into this. I did look into this, and it was reported that there was like 41, and in reality, it was the other way around. It was like 14. So we've seen most, if not all, of the clips. There isn't going to be like another 10 or something like that, or even 20. It was reported wrong. Oh, yeah, and that's another thing. Hank's going to be able... But here's the thing. Hank anticipates that he will be. That is how smart Hank is. And I always put myself in his shoes to think about, like, how would I do it if I was Hank, right? That's how I make my predictions, is based on how would I do it? If I was an attorney, how would I do it? And with my knowledge of the law, I make pretty good predictions, if you hadn't noticed. Any of you who have been here with me for a while know how I make my predictions and how on point they usually are. I'm never always going to be right. That's, you know, there's never anybody who's always going to be 100% right, but I'm pretty close. You know, I'm pretty good when it comes to making those predictions. And I put myself in his shoes. Now, what would I do? Now, if I'm Hank, I predict that over the weekend, they sort of try to prep him, even though they're not supposed to. And I already bet on that if I'm Hank. So if I'm Hank, I bet on that. I know the way he's going to try to sidestep certain things, and I'm prepared for it. You know, I can usually tell where he's going with any line of questioning. And so I do think that he's going to have a couple questions for Dr. Wolf tomorrow, you know? ID, if they do a part 2, that'd be great, but they sold their soul, you know? Like, remember, they're the ones that went to ID and said, hey, we want to sell our story. It wasn't ID that went to Karen and said, hey, can we do this story? The same way that they went to Vanity Fair. The defense went to these media companies and said, we want to tell this, not the other way around. So I don't think you would really be able to argue ineffective counsel when you did all of these, considering you're the one that put them in motion, Karen. You know, I want them to remand her, but I do also remind people that in any state, and I don't care what state it is, but in my state as well, usually people who have money, they give time to get their affairs in order instead of remanding them right away. Does it always happen that way? No, but I've seen it more often than not. People who have money, status, whatever, they're given time to get their affairs in order versus poor people do not. They get remanded right away. And so I would not be shocked if she was given a week to get her affairs in order. In my opinion, she has been given years. She's had 2 trials to get her affairs in order. She should be remanded immediately. So embarrassing for him. I mean, unless he's embarrassed himself into oblivion. I don't know why he would ever take a case like this. If you've never done cross-examinations in a criminal case, I don't know why you would ever agree to do this. You know, I think he should bring a clip in closing. We'll see. You know, we'll see. But I hope he does. You know, I hope he brings a visual at least of the timeline. This time, and this time, or what? This happened, and this happened. There is no room in there for a conspiracy. There is no room in there for anything other than what the data shows happened. There is not a shred of evidence that anybody besides Karen committed the crime. You know, he misses nothing. He leaves no stone unturned, my friends, you know? Yeah, it'll start with Jackson, but I do think that we'll get, you know, more recross from Hank after that. So I'm ready, because Jackson's not going to take a ton of time. He's going to have some time, but not a ton of time, because he's going to have to get to the next, you know, person. Exactly, Ellen. Exactly. Imagine if she just faints maybe she just faints. Oh, just faints. Well, that's what he's been doing, right? Is prepping and doing things. Yeah, she business. She also tried to attack her attorney. We all saw that. We watched that, you know. Yeah, she's had more than 2 years. This happened in 2021. 4 years she's had to prepare, you know. I think that they weed themselves out. And I think that we have to remember that Hank is the one that helped choose the jury. Now, if you remember last time, we had, hold on. We had a bunch of jurors that were already dismissed, like during the trial, right? Like, oh, this one's being dismissed, this one's being dismissed, this one. We got down to like where there almost wasn't alternate. We had like 2 alternates left. So if you haven't noticed, none of them have been dismissed this time around. That to me is a good sign that a ton of FKRs did not get onto that jury. That is a very good sign, you know? You know, I can imagine she's screaming and yelling at them, you know? Allie McCabe broke my heart last trial, you know? And they try to make fun of her, and it's like, what is wrong with you? Making fun of someone who's been harassed into oblivion. Like, I know what it's like. I live it. You know, I could feel for Allie McCabe. And my daughter isn't too far off in age from Allie McCabe. And that really just hurt my heart. I did hear that Green would not testify, but then he was at the courthouse. So I don't know how true that is. You know, I don't know how true that is. Defiant. Yeah. I have no idea. I actually didn't check. This is probably one of the days. Does anybody know if Karen spoke outside the courthouse on Friday? I didn't check. A PSI before sentencing? I don't think so. It's not always a remand immediately with a guilty verdict. Again, depends on the judge. So we can only guess, you know? If the second trial is blamed by a fake juror, the justice system isn't real. Well, the justice system already is in real trouble. It definitely needs some, you know, some fixing, and has for a really long time. Judge can and should revoke bond the second she's convicted, remand her into custody pending sentencing. I think they should, but you never know. Sometimes they don't. Oh, yeah, me too. I mean, at 10 years is even going to be hard. 10, even if she got 10, that's 55. She'll be 55 by the time she gets out if she was given it, you know? Oh my God, imagine. Poor Yannetti had this big, like, scratch on his face. It's like, where'd you get that, Yannetti? Like, where'd you get that, bud? Where? It's only a matter of M2 or count 2 now. Well, I mean, it could be manslaughter if they don't want to agree on murder 2. But once again, murder 2 does not require intent in the state of Massachusetts. So you don't need intent to prove murder 2. You know? Well, that's the thing. It was a garden variety, right? Hit and run DUI. They turned it into a circus. So yeah, the state has spent quite a pretty penny on prosecuting this case, you know? And it's not some giant conspiracy. It's kind of, there's more evidence in this case than there are in most cases, you know? It's sad. Oh, Phelps had a story on Show Business? I didn't know they did. Good for him. I hope he does some updates on his podcast for this, on Karen's case, because I was kind of hoping that he already would by this point. But hey, you know, I would love to be a fly on the wall after court when they get in that car, or when Karen gets back and starts calling, you know, anybody she thinks is a friend and starts bitching and whining about how bad it is. Because I have to believe that even though she's a narcissistic psychopath, that she knows it's going bad. She has to. I mean, you'd have to be blind. Those attorneys sure do, you know? Sometimes jury being quick, you know? Phelps has a podcast. He has a podcast on a bunch of different things. He does a bunch of different cases. He's done one about this case I think it's called 34 Fairview Road. But he has a bunch of different podcasts. Me either, but I do pray that it'll be quick and this family can move on with their lives, you know? That's for sure, Jimbo. I definitely do. Exactly. So if it didn't break on John's car, which we know it didn't, they weren't even the same height in the bumpers. It was literally physically impossible for that taillight to have broken on John's car. And yet we still have people saying it. We still have people saying it, you know? Oh, we have lots of people who have crushes on Hank. I'm so determined to try to get an interview with him when this is all done, you know? I really, really want to pick his legal brain. I do. She did tell her fans that whether they actually do it or not, I don't know. But all of us know that even if she plays it like a longer version of it, it doesn't make it any better. She can play it. It is in context, but you want to play it even more in context. It makes her look even worse. So I'm sure her attorneys were probably like, yeah, Karen, that's not a good idea. It's just not, you know? I believe Hank has proved this beyond any reasonable doubt at this point. There is no, the data has time. There's no room in that timeline for anything else, you know? Yeah, crossing the line with M. William Phelps. That's what it's called. You know? For me, it is a slam dunk guilty. And I wonder what people are going to think when it happens, you know? Oh yeah, they tried to I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, they say she didn't want to live and that's why they sent her to the hospital, her dad, you know. Karen's not made for jail. She's not gonna be able to handle it, you know. And yeah, if you do watch it and you think it's good, give a good review, because the cult decided they're going to give a bunch of false bad reviews because the turtle had a meltdown when he realized that and William Phelps didn't just buy his crap narrative, that he actually looked into it and found, holy crap, Karen did it. And the conspiracy is nonsensical and doesn't make sense. I didn't watch it on Apple. I watched it on or listened to it on on Google on my phone on oh god, what was the other one? Spotify. And then there's like another one, like another free one. You can just listen to it for free. So you don't have to have Apple. I didn't have Apple either, and I listened to it. She's had years. Yeah, she's had years. Right? I demand cuffs on live TV as well. I want to see the cuffs go on. I believe somebody else pointed out they should use John's cuffs. Take John's cuffs and put those cuffs on her. You know, Spotify. Yep. Let's hope so. Let's hope so. You know, let's hope so. Not afraid of prison. Yeah, she is. She's afraid of prison. That's BS. You know, the turtle is afraid of prison. She's afraid of prison. Anybody should be afraid of prison. Why would you not be afraid of prison? Just saying. Like, yeah, I mean, poor Allie. And what she meant was when they pulled up outside. That's clearly what she meant. Anybody with a brain knows when they pulled up outside. She didn't mean inside. She didn't say inside. She said at. Outside is at. So she says at. And of course, like, she's saying that he went in the house. No, she said at, as in pulled up outside. And it's like, if you're trying to stretch the truth to say at when you know damn well that is not what she meant. Sorry, guys. Take care of something for a second. Yeah, it was a really good podcast. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you definitely look into it. Yeah, I don't think he even knows what I thought the same thing, Jennifer. Like, he doesn't even really know what to ask at this point. It's not his area of expertise, and I do think it'll be quick tomorrow. Yeah, Victoria really wanted to be on the jury. You know, she wanted to make fetch, and just wasn't happening for her. And then, you know, I did hear about Green not testifying, but then I heard he was at the courthouse. So I don't know. Do you actually let him testify? I'm not sure that's a good idea, but once again, I know. And Shabusiness can't control herself. But she made less faces than Karen, you know? Oh, yeah, because she's the physics person that does the math, right? That's what she said. I mean, that's just grasping at this point, is she's just going to say shit that doesn't make sense, you know? So crazy. Yeah, that I watched something on what she did the other day and I was like, what? I mean, come on. I wouldn't doubt it, you know? Maybe but why would you? Because you'd have to sit, because you're on the witness list, so you can't watch, which means you'd be sitting out in the hallway. So why go to the courthouse to just sit out in the hallway? It doesn't make sense. You know? Good for her. Good for Allie. Good for her. I played soccer. Oh my God, I can't. Yeah, well, she should be shooketh. The lady protests too much. Karen said Green will not testify. That 227 had already been visited. Visited, you mean debunked, Karen? Debunked? Then why was he at the courthouse? That's the weird part. Why is he there then? He's not there just to sit in the hallway. Hank's math is wrong. You ever think maybe Hank gave the wrong math on purpose? I mean, what if, and someone else, to the credit of not me, all right, to the credit of Navin, what if Hank gave him the wrong math on purpose to get him to admit, gave him a calculator, said, this is correct, right? Oh, generally, yes. For him to come back and be like, well, you said that this was generally correct, but this is the real math. Like, I mean, it could go one of two ways. The math is right, and Karen's an idiot. We do know that it was 26% difference, which is right, 26.3% difference, which would make a difference in the damage and all that stuff. We know that that's right. Okay. There's no doubt about the fact that that's right. We know that they used an arm that was almost 2.5 pounds lighter than what John's arm was, which was 11.86 pounds. They could have used a 12-pound arm, which would have been about less than 0.2% difference. It's a 15-25 on murder. So yeah, 15 to 25 on murder too. I think the minimum is 15 on that. Well, I mean, even if she got out in 15, is she going to go back to work? Who's going to hire her? I agree with you. And I say this every time she's like, have any of you seen anything on social media and told us? Like, it is impossible that the jury's not seeing things on social media. I just think it's impossible. But I do think that in front of them, what they have is the evidence, and they could know how to say what this person said online and what this shows are two totally different things. So obviously, you know what I'm saying? I do think that they have common sense. Maybe. I mean, there aren't that many of us are, and there's a reason for that. Well, there's multiple reasons. One reason is, we live with harassment because we dare to say the truth. Two is it doesn't make a ton of money. It doesn't keep a channel afloat. And it doesn't make money if you're spending 6 and 8 hours a day streaming. You have to try to bring in some income. And so that's the second reason why people don't come to the side of truth, is it's not a moneymaker. All the money is coming from the conspiracy people. It's super chat, donation, super chat. So that's part of the reason why. The other part of the reason is because they don't want to be harassed into oblivion. As most of us have been since covering this case since 2023, we deal with a lot. We deal with a lot. Make no mistake. If I even told you half of the stuff I deal with on a daily basis, you'd be like, what? Like, that's not normal behavior. It's not okay. And you got to have real thick skin. And a lot of people just don't want to deal with it. I can't blame them. But what I can tell you is shame on the people that continuously lie for clicks and views, while those of us who are willing to tell the truth get harassed into oblivion, and you lie on purpose. You're lying to your audience. You're doing it on purpose. Your legal takes are garbage if you pass the bar exam. and you're saying Hank Brennan's not doing well, you're lying. If you haven't said the defense is in trouble here, you're lying. If you're pushing a conspiracy theory you know couldn't have possibly happened based on the evidence, you are lying to your audience. Why? Well, money makes the world go round, folks, and that is why. 99.9% of the reason why these people sit there and lie is the money. Make no mistake. It's paying their bills. And they know that by watching our channels, and make no mistake, they do. They have people that monitor our channels and watch our channels from start to finish. Every show we do, they can see what comes into ours versus what goes into theirs. And they know that the money isn't here. And so they're going to continue saying what the cult wants them to say in a way that the cult wants them to say it. Because if they don't, those people are going to turn on them. They're going to turn on them. And they're going to harass them. They're going to drag their personal life into it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's unfortunate, but that's the cold, hard truth of it, of the matter. There aren't that many of us. There are only a few. They're not going to quiet me. They're not going to silence me. Those of you who have been here with me since the first trial know this. Like I said, you got to have thick skin. So I don't suggest that anybody thinking about it comes out and starts, doing what I do. If you don't have thick skin, don't do it, because it has its effect, Which one? Play which one? And yes, you'll see them moving the goalpost. That's all they'll do, is move the goalpost, I'm hoping that Phelps does come out with something maybe after the trial then, because I do think, they have a wing for that in the prison. So no worries. Framingham has a wing for that in medical. It's called HSU. And that's where they'll put her if she does. How much time? Well, it depends on which of the charges she gets guilty, whether it's all or whether it's some of the lesser includeds. So I can only answer that by knowing which ones she gets found guilty on. Then I can guesstimate how much time she would get, Interesting. I love that for her too, DJ, especially since she has sent the hounds after every one of us for every tiny thing she can, because she doesn't like what we have to say. So John said on his show, John DePetro, I'm guessing, that Karen Reed's attorneys did not want the crash dummy video played, but Karen Reed overruled them. Well, she's an idiot, and I don't know why you're letting your client run your case, considering you guys are the lawyers. They're making pretty rookie mistakes, so it only stands to reason that maybe Karen's the one telling them to do it, because I don't think they would otherwise. You can't be that dumb. I don't think you can, Uma, because I have it set like in the settings that only my mods and me can share links. Well, I have it set that way because we had the mob that used to try to come in here and share absurd, ridiculous, and harmful links. So I think the only way you could is if you're on X, it'll show it, but it won't show it to you, those of you who are in YouTube, unfortunately. So, right? I don't allow us to try to beat skeet and get on a plane and go somewhere. Like, she does freak out after court. You are right. I do think she's a flight risk. Hey, Anne. I do think she is a flight risk. Yeah, you can email it to me or you can post it on the Discord. Everybody can see it there. She does sound ridiculous, The gotcha moments are great, especially when it's so very clear the point that Hank is making, Right. Who backs up at 24 miles per hour, people? Who? And that's where, like, people who are saying, like, well, maybe it could have been an accident. That's where it goes for me to there's no way it's an accident, because you don't back up at 24 miles an hour at 74.5% acceleration by accident. You just don't. It's not a thing. And Andrea, you're right. Like, that's all they're going to keep screaming about, Proctor, solo cubs, butt dials. Like, come on. None of it helps Karen in any way. None of it. Not even a little bit. Yeah, any podcasting app should have it if you want to watch Phelps stuff. Her faces are mind melting, I know. Karens? Yeah, they are. So in the chat, one of these multiple defendant lawyer panels, kind of old guys, all pumping Karen Read cult stuff, I think, just because they think it's the popular thing to do. Well, that's exactly it. They do think it's the popular thing to do. They think it's the monetary thing to do. Because if they do, all of a sudden, their PayPals and their Venmos and their Cash Apps and their Super Chats are all going off simultaneously, and they're being paid to just spew nonsensical nonsense. It's what they've been doing since day one, and they know that's where the money lies. They know there's no money in telling the truth, or they know that there's not a ton of it in telling the truth, so they choose the other route. They choose money. They choose evil over it all, instead of telling people what the truth is, where the facts lie. And it's unfortunate, but they have to live with themselves. They can never give back what they took from Colin. They can never give him back his scholarship that he worked so hard for sports. They can never give him back his college experience that he deserved to have. They can never give back what they have taken from so many people, including Colin. Ever. We're talking about deplorable, disgusting human beings. You know? It's just awful. Her ego is just as bad as the sewer turtles. And those will be put into check when that guilty verdict is read. They will have to come to the realization that they are only a legend in their own minds. You know? Yeah, well, a night in jail is not the same as Framingham prison. So, no, I shut my camera off for a second. I didn't get yeeted. When my kiddo walks in, I usually, or anybody for that matter, I shut the camera off. Well, that's exactly it. It's mass propaganda, you know? Is at the front door. They're not in your house. Exactly. They're at your house, right? But they're not in your house. If you're outside and you're parked outside of my house, you're at my house, right? But you're not in my house. The way that they tried to use Allie's, comment as to meaning he was in the house or something, that's just stupid. So stupid. Well, at least there's 18 of them and only 12 of them are going to deliberate. I do have faith in what Hank has done to pick these people. And I do have faith to the fact that none of these people have been thrown off the jury yet, like we saw in the last trial already at this point, Oh, he definitely 100%, in my opinion, is going to do some time, unless he throws everyone he knows under the bus and some people with some serious stature. He's like, maybe some powerful people with stature, he might be able to get off on a good deal, with a deal. But other than that, no, he's going to sit in prison. It is evil. It is evil. What she did is evil. And then what she did after to cover it up, and what she has done all these years, using him as a paid shill and a useful idiot. It's awful. It's evil. And she knew what she was doing. She knew she hit John. She knows she hit John. And yet she did not mind making sure that anybody who said she did was harassed into oblivion by her useful idiot and his crew. They're all provable facts. Yep, we have Dr. Welcher again. Yep, on a rebuttal, which is going to be amazing. No, I think they said ARCA and the ME. And the ME is going to be a huge disaster. This is the lady that did not do 1,512. She didn't finish 1,512 autopsies. She was disqualified by another judge for trying to be an accident reconstructionist expert when she is absolutely not an accident reconstructionist expert. So the ME is going to be a disaster for them if they put her up there. I don't know why they didn't the defense didn't just rest by now because they're just making themselves look like more foolish as the time goes. And I'm here for it. I have my popcorn for it. They've destroyed so many lives. Like, hey, you want to make yourselves look foolish? Let's do this. But their Emmy is an ultimate disaster. She's another Marie Russell. She's another Dr. Russell. And you know how that went. You know, it's just absurd. Yeah, he was at the courthouse. I confirmed he was at the courthouse, but they keep saying he's not going to testify. Yes, Anne, we've been here a while. We're glad you have found us. We are glad you found us. Well, that's if they get through Dr. Rentschler and the Emmy. So I'm not sure if they the defense wraps up their case till Tuesday, I would think. At the earliest, I think it would be Tuesday. So, I mean, if they wrap those two people up, sure, it could be Tuesday that they start rebuttals, but it's not likely if they're doing those three people or those two people and you still have Dr. Wolf on the stand, you know? Well, that's the thing. You have a lot of the people that do support her are not very good people either. So, you know, you guys know how it goes. We've been doing this a long time. We've been covering this a long time. Yeah, I never believe anything he has to say. That's for sure. You know? Well, not no one will hire a felon. People will hire felons, but there'll be a very low paying job. Definitely won't be what Karen's used to. That's for sure. You know? You are in the right place, my friend. You are. 21%, Navin says, decrease. It would be a 26% increase to the heavier arm. Jury should be sequestered. I have been saying this for as long as we have been covering this case. I said it in the first trial. I've said it a billion times this trial. The jury should have been sequestered from day one. A gag order should have been in effect already. Massachusetts does not like to sequester juries. They never have. And I understand why they don't like to, sort of like taking someone's rights away by sequestering a jury. But if there was any case that ever required a jury to be sequestered, there's a reason why that option exists, everyone. Okay. And this happens to be one of those scenarios where the jury should have been sequestered. It's the reality, you know? This case shouldn't have taken as long, but it also took this long because the judge allowed it to. All the half days and days off, allowing a defendant to call in sick to their own murder trial is something I have never seen before. I will try to do both, but I don't know how that's going to work. You know how I do, Michael. I will attempt to do the best I can. Oh, it is terrorism. Believe me, especially dealing with it firsthand myself. It is terrorism. It's exactly what it is, you know? Exactly what it is. A lot of people have said that, and a lot of people have unsubscribed to him because of that. He just doesn't care because in return of all the people who unsubscribed to him, now he has all the FKR people that have subscribed to him. And so it's probably generating him more income. And so he doesn't care. He just doesn't care. You know, the fact that they don't understand how any of these people are bad. Let's be real here. They weren't even saying that, you know, the second witness there, what's her name? Oh, God, Dever. They weren't even admitting Dever was bad for them. These are people who are never going to admit things are bad for their side. It is bad. It is very bad. I mean, is this the chick, Scorpio, that had to like leave X and leave TikTok because she used to be an attorney, but then she got arrested and went to jail and hasn't paid? And so she's not an attorney anymore and just spews nonsensical BS. Is that the chick you're talking about on TikTok saying she'll win an appeal? Because that's delusional. There's no appeal that Karen would win in this case. None. There's no appealable things that she could win ever. Well, they're going to keep moving the goalpost, Leon. It's what they do. Always moving the goalpost. When one thing is proven wrong that they say, they move the goalpost further and further and further along. The problem with that is they can keep doing it. It doesn't change the truth. Doesn't change what's going to happen in the case, you know? I don't know. I have to believe that there are smart people on that jury that don't want to just let someone go free because a bunch of people who stand outside and wear pink t-shirts say so. I have to believe that they know that Peggy O'Keefe and Paul O'Keefe and John's family are sitting in that room waiting for a resolution, and this is trial 2 for them. It's very clear who committed the crime. As a jury member, could I say not guilty on this case because I'm afraid of pink t-shirt wearing goons? Or do I look at the evidence and say she's guilty, but I don't want to vote guilty because of the pink t-shirt goons? Or do I vote guilty because that's what the evidence shows me and because that family deserves justice? And if that was my family, would I want someone voting one way or another because they're afraid, or voting based on what the evidence that was brought to them said? Because if it's my loved one, I want justice, and I want that jury to look at the evidence they were presented, not vote one way or another based on social media hype or idiots outside with pom-poms. You know, they don't deserve this. They go to Chris's shop every Sunday across the street with signs and harass his business. Like, what? Chris is probably one of the nicest people, and him and his family, I have ever met. He's a good guy, okay? And he's funny to boot. There's other family members that I know. They're good people. They're kind people. And so the people who don't know them just say, what, they're evil because the sewer turtle told you so. Wake the hell up, dude. Wake the hell up. Well, FKR screams about doubt, but they don't seem to understand the difference between reasonable doubt and no doubt at all, you know? Vinny started a YouTube channel after being on court TV. It tells you everything you need to know. He's already on court TV. What the hell does he need a YouTube channel for? You know? And that's the other thing. Hank has proven everything he said in his opening. The defense hasn't proved a single thing. Proved a single thing they said in their opening statement. Believe me, I know. I live it every day. And it does. You have to have thick skin. You know, can't be thin skin to deal with these people. That's for sure. At this point, I have moved to just ignoring certain people because they're irrelevant in my life. I don't give a shit what they think or don't think of me. What they think doesn't matter to me. It only matters what I think of me and nobody else. I give a shit less what they think. You know? I keep checking on those two, the ones in California. I keep checking on that too. I've seen it on the news yesterday. Well, I think she perpetuated it, but it was ultimately the sewer turtle that tried to claim that, which of course is not true. But that's what they do. You know, that's what they do. Sad, you know? He hasn't proved anything. Nothing that he said in his opening. And I think Karen probably screams at her defense team. She's probably like, we're doing this because I said we're doing this. There's riots or like fires and all sorts of stuff happening in California. I saw it real quick yesterday, like 2 minutes. It was like a news clip that I saw. Yeah, it literally looks like a war zone. They're lighting off like pepper bullets and what I don't know. It was on YouTube and it popped up on my thing when I was watching something, looking for something else to watch. And it was like a 3-minute clip from like a Los Angeles news station from, I think it was Paradise, California or something around the, I think it was Paradise, they called it. Something with a P. I think it was something with a P, I believe. I mean, she can plea all the way up until they give a verdict. So if she wanted, she could try to get a plea right now. I don't think the Commonwealth would give her one. But she could attempt it if she really wanted, you know? I mean, at 24 miles an hour, if you're backing up, you definitely have to know that you probably are going to kill someone if you're going that fast. You know what I mean? Intentional, not intentional, it doesn't really matter. She still did it, you know? And there's no chance you're going to say accident, in my opinion. Of course, it's just my opinion. It might not be yours. But in my opinion, it's no accident to back up at 24 miles an hour. And it's funny because I saw on X the other day a clip of the sewer turtle not that long ago saying, how do you back up at 24 miles an hour on accident? You can't do that on accident. Exactly. Exactly. You can't do it on accident, sir. Well, that's what they do. Scorpio, you know that. So if anybody wants to not do that and you just want to donate to the channel to help us continue to cover this trial and all the other things that we cover, other trials we're going to cover, other cases we have covered, and you appreciate the content, we appreciate that you appreciate the content. If you could give a like or a subscribe, if you would like to donate to the channel, we have a bunch of different ways. We have Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Revolut for those of you who are out of country. And we also have a link for any of you who just want to use credit or debit. We also have super chats, memberships, super stickers. Obviously, the more preferred ways are the ones on the screen. I like the way someone said it the other day, which is, let's not fill YouTube's pockets. They take such a large cut of everything and they wait over them. So anything I get from June 1st to June 31st, I actually won't get until the end of July. So they make it difficult for really small channels like mine. They make it very difficult. That's for sure. You know, me either. Me either. That's why I say this needs to be studied. You know, it needs to be studied. 100% needs to be studied. You know, I don't think they're going to be able to prove a single thing. Where's that eyewitness that Jackson said he had, right? You're not going to put Karen on the stand. So what eyewitness, Jackson? It certainly wasn't the ME, right? Certainly isn't Darka, right? So who? Who? Not going to be able to prove any of that. All right, let me try to get down to the bottom of these comments because I realize I'm like over 10 minutes behind here. Well, that's the beauty of Hank. That is the beauty of Hank. That's the beauty of Hank, is they all have to at some point have agreed with him on something. As far as I know, we do have a full schedule, but I'm not sure. Like, you never know with this judge, guys. I can't, you know, I can't, I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe somebody else knows. Maybe Scorpio knows. I have no idea. Their ME is a joke. She's a Marie Russell. You know, she's a Marie Russell, a literal duplicate. Sarah Levinson, yeah, she was in the first trial. You know, unfortunately, they do all the time. And it's sad. I think a lot of people I wouldn't want those fans. I don't want those types of people on my channel. I don't prefer to. I have an amazing chat. I have an amazing chat of a really intelligent, broad spectrum of people who've been through various things in their life, and have a lot of experience in a lot of different things. I wouldn't want people that will jump on a bandwagon to harass other people. I don't want it. I don't want it. And if you know that you have people that are doing it, why not address it? Well, I'll tell you why, because he likes it. That's how he wields power, is by using his mob of maniacs to go and target whoever he sees as a perceived threat. I don't want anyone here harassing anyone. Nobody. Nobody. You can have your opinion. Cool. Harassing people, making fun of the way they look, how much money they make, where they live. It's uncalled for and unnecessary. What they did 20 years ago, I don't give a shit what you guys did 20 years ago. I don't care what you guys did a year ago. It's who you are right now that matters. Right this very minute. How you got through that shit in your life. And a lot of people have been through a lot of shit. To discount them as not credible or not good people because they've been through stuff, you're a bad judge of character if that's who you're following. Just saying, you know? Well, yeah. To her, Jen was there. So Jen and Kerry can sort of prove Karen's the only one who could have done this, you know? So they could be disbarred because of their actions, and that's going to take a really long time, unfortunately. You know, I get it. They have very serious mental health issues, you know? Because if you tell the truth and it's against their theory, then apparently you deserve to be harassed into oblivion. You know? They don't know the Alberts. They don't know the O'Keefes. They don't know these people. They don't. Oh, that's it. Paramount. Thank you. They don't know these people. They don't. I can't watch Vinny. I can't watch Vinny. I can't watch the Sewer Turtle. I cannot watch someone knowingly sit there and lie and lie and lie and lie and lie. I can't do it. I just can't. Her exes, I know, I understand why they don't want to come forward. I totally get it. I wouldn't if I was them either. They don't want to deal with this. Maybe they'll have something to say when this is over publicly, but I know privately they want nothing to do with this. And I can't blame them. They have families and people they're protecting from not being harassed because they didn't say something favorable to Karen. I cannot blame those men at all for not wanting to be in this shit show, you know? Well, if that's the case, they would have already dismissed that juror because you definitely can't be calling people asshole. You don't have to take notes, though. You don't, as a juror, you don't have to. They give you have a choice to take notes or not, but you don't have to. But I would definitely believe that if he called someone an asshole, he probably would have been dismissed. As far as I understood about that juror that's been moved, he wasn't favorable towards Karen, not the other way around. Vinny cuts off Kevin and lets, Nick Rocco talk twice as much. And we're talking about speculation, not facts. So you're letting someone speculate on things that aren't true twice as much as you let someone who's trying to give the actual facts and the evidence in the case talk. And you're cutting off the one person that's giving that. Oh, that makes sense. I can't watch it. I can't. I cannot. Like trying to say that, I mean, for Nick trying to say there's no holes in the shirt, everyone on planet Earth saw it. But that's the thing. That's the theme, right? The theme of the cult is you didn't hear what you heard, you didn't hear what you heard, and you didn't see what you saw. I would not be concerned about it because I don't think anybody with any real information is saying that. I think you have to kind of drown out what's noise and plausible and what isn't, Well, that's another thing. Jackson said no collision so many times, and now he's been talking about collision. Seems that way, doesn't it, Anne? Yeah, as far as I know, they are still going to call Elizabeth LaPalooza, and La Posada is her last name, but she is a disaster. A freaking disaster. And Hank is going to have an absolute freaking field day with her. I don't know why you would put somebody on the stand with the history of that woman as an Emmy. I mean, come on, man. I don't blame you, Jennifer. A lot of people have. I will never tell people who to watch and who not to watch other than the Sewer Turtle. I think anybody who watches him and likes his content, not watches him just to see what crazy shit he'll say, but watches him and likes his content has some serious screws loose. But I don't blame you for unsubscribing to them. I would never tell you guys who to watch and who not to watch other than him. But I don't blame you from unsubscribing to it because some of those people, as we've pointed out, are literally just saying it because it brings in more dollars and cents to lie. And it's a shame because you tout yourselves as legal experts basically when you go on YouTube and say I'm a lawyer and I'm giving an opinion. So then more people listen to them. It's like, oh, this person's a lawyer. They know what they're talking about. I'm not a lawyer, right? So they're going to say, Elise, you're not a lawyer. You have no idea what you're talking about. They know better than you do, right? Because they're actually lawyers. And in reality land, it's the opposite. Just because I'm not an attorney doesn't mean I don't know more than they do. A lot of them are civil attorneys. Some of them haven't practiced in 10 or more years. Some of them have no idea what they're talking about when it comes to criminal law at all. And that's very abundantly clear to anybody who does practice or worked even in the criminal justice system. But that's a problem. When people give more weight to your opinion because you're an attorney, you're helping spread more misinformation. And they don't care what damage they do. They just don't care. So we do know that John had no sign of life when they found him. He was already gone. They tried to revive him, but they did not succeed. So we do know that he was gone before they arrived at 6, right after 6 in the morning. And also, if you passed away, you can't get frostbite. So if he passed away right away, even all those hours in the snow, you're not going to get, you're passed away. You're not going to have frostbite, She did. She told her to shut the F up. I mean, even Carrie, they were like, dude, Carrie's like, shut the F up, Karen. Jen's like, shh, Karen, you're saying things that don't make sense. Like, trying to help her out. Like, because at that point, they didn't think Karen hit him, right? They didn't know. And so, like, shh, Karen, like, shut up. Stop saying shit like that. They try to help her. They tried to help her. I mean, maybe guilt took over at that point. Doesn't seem like she's too guilty now. I do think we will see some backlash with the attorneys, although that will take a really long time. It always does, Yeah, I noticed that with him. And La Posada and Russell are going to be, along the same lines of horrible. He is trying to prevent Paul O'Keefe from attending the Karen Read case tomorrow by sending some ridiculous subpoena for him to go to court tomorrow for this, like, to testify for the sewer turtle. I don't think there's a chance in hell a judge allows that subpoena. And Paul's attorney is in the middle of trying to quash that subpoena for him, of course. There's no chance a judge makes him go there and miss the trial of his. It's just not going to happen. So again, the sewer turtle can cry in his cereal, but yes, he attempted to do that. And Paul's attorney is on top of it. Some of them, yeah, just liars, bold-faced liars. That's what they do, Karen didn't want kids. The kids were getting in her way, They were getting in her way. I don't know. Because they don't want the bad news to be given by one of the FKR channels. They want the bad news to be given by one of these channels. That way, nobody really takes any stock in it. That's why. They hope that everybody just pays no mind. Oh my God, can you imagine if she did? That might be her only play. Might be her only play. And I would not put it past her. Well, he was probably stiff, at that point, unfortunately. And if you're doing CPR, it's just awful to even think about, If Karen had just called 911, could have saved his life. Well, that's the thing. When you pass away, you don't bleed. So when she pulled that piece of glass out, did she get out of her car after she hit him and pull it out? Then leave him there? Because it couldn't have been after 6. Carrie was the one that uncovered his face, and she was there. So we know that she didn't pull it out right there at 6. So what time did you pull that glass out of his face, Karen? Freudian slips, what it sounds like. You know what I mean? Or it could just be a lie, It's either or. Question everything. It's either or, It's either or. Jane Nelson Mandela. Right. Well, I mean, she's still running around buying bottles of Grey Goose. Like, sorry, Karen, they don't make those in jail. You're going to have to wait a month for your toilet wine. You know what I'm saying? Like, Higgins. That's so ridiculous that anybody even buys the whole, oh, Higgins saw a kiss on the forehead, so he lost his mind. Well, guess what? Karen says the opposite. And we saw that clip already, right? Like, it was specific, but that means that she got out right away. That's what that means. That's exactly what that means. It is. It is, and she also gets up to 5,000 because it's only up to 5,000 per day via Venmo and Cash App. So she gets sent personal. They send it to her personal stuff as well. You know, that's a good idea, Jennifer. You know, I like Julie Grant, and I honestly think that they should give her a better time slot. Why? Vinny's a joke. He's a joke. Well, that's what he did. That's why he got on YouTube. You know. Oh, because, you know, in the Sewer Turtle's mind, because he invited Lindsay to sit in, this is the Sewer Turtle's theory, that because he invited Lindsay to sit with the family, that was somehow setting him up. You were asked to leave. You set yourself up. All you had to do was actually just leave. What are you talking about? Nobody set you up, bro. Like, stop with the everyone set me up BS. No one's buying it, dude. Okay? It's ridiculous and absurd. They asked you to leave. All you had to do was leave. You couldn't do that. You had to wait outside, take pictures of her in the bushes, follow her down the street at a distance with a camera and taking pictures. All you had to do was leave, and you couldn't do it. That's your own fault. It has nothing to do with Paul. It has nothing to do with Lindsay. It's your fault. There was a restraining order. You knew better. Yeah, that might be her only play. I agree with you there. That might be her only play. You know? So God forbid Paul invite another victim to sit with him and his family. Like, stop it. That's absurd. Like, he's allowed to invite anybody he wants. You don't like that? Well, it sucks to be you. I don't know what to tell you. Bye, Sminny. Yes. Nose. I would say nose. A lot of people did, as far as I understand. A lot of people actually did complain. What taxes? I think he told Lindsay he hadn't paid taxes in like 10 years or something like that. I file as a sole proprietorship. I used to follow Jen a lot more. I really haven't had time to be on X. Why did she say something that was crazy? I haven't seen any much on X. I get screenshots mostly, and you know, I don't think he'll ever apologize, just like most of these other people. You know, this is crazy. I do think she might make a scene. You know. Yeah, it would be an ethics violation. I mean, I think if she even plays that route, nobody's going to believe it, though. I mean, there's pictures. Like, come on, you know? I think that might be her only play. But, hey. She was drunk and enraged. Well, she was. She backed up, hit him, left him dying in snow. It's really that simple. You don't back up at 24 miles an hour by accident. It's not an accident, right? That was on purpose. There was nothing accidental about it. Not by a long shot. Not by a freaking long shot. It's sad that this is where this is gone, you know, but it's the reality of the situation. But I did want everybody to know about the JERS system, JERS, JERS, and how that works. So that was one of the things that I wanted to touch upon today that I did, because that's when the jury gets in there, they have this touchpad that they can go through anything that's been marked as an exhibit and put into evidence. They can look at documents, you know, things of that nature. And then there are things that won't be in there. They're supposed to rely on their own mind when it comes to like witness testimony. And that's why they're allowed to take notes and things like that. And so some of them have taken copious amounts of notes and some of them not so much. So, I mean, I think they guess, oh, this person took notes, so I didn't need to, you know, but I have a good feeling that a guilty verdict will be coming. And I think Hank has proven it already, for sure, in my opinion. Yeah, don't for your own sanity, Sarah. It's not worth it, you know. Everyone is setting it before this case even existed. Do you know how many times he has claimed somebody is setting him up, or every ex-girlfriend of his is crazy and it's everyone else's fault but his? It's a theme. It's been going on for years, long before this case ever existed. For your own sanity, don't bother. you know? Yeah, you got to try to keep informed of it at the same time, not deal with the BS on top of it, you know? I really want to know if the car needs to have a button pushed on the wheel for towing a trailer to do what she did. Won't the car stop itself? So no, they tested to see if it would. Remember, Dr. Welcher said he tested to see if it would brake on its own, and it didn't. I drive everywhere in reverse at precisely 24 miles an hour. If I hit anyone, who's going to believe me, right? I did it in 24 miles per hour, backwards. At the very least, towing mode will turn alarms off. So that's Dr. Welcher did some testing on that and said that it didn't break on its own. Maybe for a car it would have, but a person is different. It was quite amusing that ARCA was able to prove you can go 24 miles per hour in reverse. Another thing the FKRs were adamant couldn't happen, along with the taillight being broken by an arm. I know. I was like, oh, thanks for proving everything that you guys have been crying for. But then they moved the goalpost, right? They moved the goalpost and they're like, we didn't say it couldn't be broken by an arm. We said it wasn't. So like they just move it just a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And it's like, we have a billion tweets from you saying exactly that. Well, that's not what I meant. Of course, it's not what you meant now that it's been proven wrong, right? Got it. Like, I do believe it was DV. I'm much more optimistic that trial 1.0 state spent too much time addressing the preposterous conspiracy, this time sticking to proving she was drunk and enraged, backed up, hit him, left him to die. You also have to remember that even in the first trial, the jury did not believe the conspiracy theory. Even in the first trial with Lally, doing the first trial, doing all the debunking of the preposterous conspiracy and addressing it. And yes, there was too much time spent on that. 100% agree. But even with all of that, okay, even with all of it, the jury still didn't buy the conspiracy theory. They still did not believe the conspiracy theory. What makes anybody believe that they're going to believe a conspiracy theory with a more concise, well put together timeline? There's a timeline that doesn't leave any time for a conspiracy to have happened. They didn't buy it in the first trial. I highly doubt they buy it in the second trial. What does that leave them with? That leaves them with either what the defense is telling them happened or the Commonwealth is telling them happened. The problem is the defense hasn't really told them anything at all. There is no shred of evidence that anybody except Karen Reed committed the crime. Not a single shred. Speculation, okay, rank speculation is not evidence. There is zero, including an FBI investigation that is now closed because they cleared people. The only person they didn't clear was the only person that they didn't look into, which was Karen herself. The witnesses were cleared. The police officers were cleared. The federal investigation cleared them. Sorry, conspiracy people, but you guys also fail to compute in your brain that the federal investigation is closed and over. Everyone has been shown to have done nothing wrong except Karen herself. Hello, wake up. The federal investigation would have charged someone if they found wrongdoing. No one was charged. Case was closed because they proved there was no conspiracy. If you believe in some vast conspiracy where there is no, who planted the taillight in your conspiracy? Couldn't be Proctor. He didn't go to Fairview that night. So who planted it? Also, how'd they get it underneath the snow with a CERT team standing right there? How'd it get underneath the snow? Also, why does John have ground underneath him and not snow? If he was thrown out there later on, there'd be snow underneath him. There was ground underneath him, not snow. So let me know how that bodes with your conspiracy theory. Also, all the other things that you were told that were bold-faced lies in this conspiracy. Okay? All the things you were fed early on to believe in this conspiracy, butt dials and solo cups do not equal someone else being guilty. Solo cups, it's John's blood. No one else's blood. It's John's blood. Okay? Butt dials do not help her. She made her own butt dials that night. Wake up. Time to wakey, eggs and bakey, my friends. Okay? There is no way a conspiracy fits into any of it. None of it. Okay? There was no clothes in Proctor's car for weeks. That's been proven as well. So that ridiculous theory of taillight on top of the snow, proven false. Clothes sat in Proctor's car for weeks, also proven false. All of these things that they were fed to believe this conspiracy theory have all been proven false. Okay? All. There's no conspiracy. Oh, that one where they say, where's all the blood with 3 liters of blood? Karen herself, and I literally have it still. Karen herself said, I don't know where people got that from. Where was all the blood? There was blood everywhere. There was a ton of blood. I don't know why people keep saying, where was all the blood? There was a ton of blood. Karen herself debunked that one. Yet they still say it. I see it all the time. I'm like, oh my God. Really? Like, really? Karen herself debunked that. Okay? Wakey, people. It's absurd. There's no giant conspiracy. 3 people can't keep a secret for a month. You think 50, 80, 100 people kept a secret for 4 years? It's absurd. It's absurd. Yep, there was. They were taking pictures outside. There's also video. I know the conspiracy is so funny, isn't it, Tristan? It's wicked funny. It is funny that anybody could actually believe that some vast conspiracy exists when all of the evidence proves there's no vast conspiracy. I think it's hilarious. I do think it's hilarious. Karen's car moves in a reverse. Seconds later, John's phone stops moving. The battery temperature goes lower and lower and lower and lower. Doesn't go back up. Phone doesn't move again until he's found. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. It's freaking hilarious. Oh, the pig treat one. That one's one of my ultimate favorite ones. That just shows the stupidity. It's a pig. It's a pig's ear. That pig DNA is a pig's ear. Completely forgetting that in order for it to be a pig's ear, it would be covered in dog saliva, DNA. You can't have the pig's ear without the DNA. You absolute freaking geniuses. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. Oh, I know, right? Like every millimeter. Like Karen is actually the one that debunked that herself on Facebook in her own group and was like, I don't know where people got that from. There was a ton of blood. It's the goalposts move, right? And move and move and move. Oh, absolutely. But I mean, what else could they do after you spread that conspiracy around? If you don't keep going with that conspiracy, you leave all your support on the ground. You know? You leave it all. Then you have nothing. So they had no choice but to keep going with that ridiculous conspiracy. Grown in a lab. It's so funny to me. Like, do you not realize how absurd it sounds? You know? How absurd a vast conspiracy of 80 or 100 people. 3 people cannot keep a secret for a month. You think there, mind you, there is not a single shred of evidence against anyone except Karen herself. I mean, come on. She's delusional for sure. And so is all the rest of the people that keep believing in this vast, absurd conspiracy involving Proctor, who wasn't even at 34 Fairview, so he couldn't have planted taillight at a place he never went to, right? Common sense. It's funny to me at this point. It is. Like, what was AJ yelling about at that girl on the stand? We couldn't hear. I don't know. Sometimes we can't hear them because they walk away from the microphone, so it's harder to hear. They need to stop walking away from the microphone, or the court needs to give them lapel mics or something. Like, It is her favorite kind because there are people that will just keep giving and giving and giving to her. It's what she wants, you know? Oh, that was amazing. You know, this one was good. Dr. Russell saying the DNA should have been tested immediately. Like, lady, you can test DNA 20, 30, 40 years later. It's still there. Genius. She also pretended to be like a DNA expert, you know, a sweater expert, a accident expert, a gang tattoo expert. You know, the intimidation only works if you let it. And I say, tell them to F off. You know? No, never. Not in a million years. Not in a million, right? Casper, he must be Doctor Who and get in his telephone booth, you know? Go back in time, maybe. Maybe, possibly. Oh, Valo, that was bad. Yeah. Yeah, she can be a prison lawyer. She can pretend to be a prison lawyer. Maybe people will give her commissary for that. Just saying. Maybe they can give her some soups to help her. Hey, Karen, help me. I'll give you some soups for that. You a couple soups. You know, me neither. It's she's not even likable at this point. And with what I know privately, I don't know how anybody who knows all of the things that I know privately can consistently keep going with this absurd theory. It flies in the face of reality and what's true and what is not. All right, guys, I've been here 3 minutes shy of 3 hours. I'm going to get going. We are here back here at 8:30 in the morning. Don't forget, 8:30 a.m. for the trial. It's 3:50 now. I'm starving like a hostage, and I want to get something to eat. And I have to go to the grocery store. So make sure that you, if you can be here tomorrow, you should, because if we get more of ARCA, it'll be, you know, it'll be good to see the rest of what Dr. Wolf has to say for himself, and then what Dr. Rentschler contradicts that Dr. Wolf said, because Dr. Rentschler is a little more honest than Dr. Wolf is. And I think he likes his career and doesn't want to, you know, have people laugh at him and make him look like a fool. So do me a favor, and on your way out, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you can donate to the channel, we could really use your help. These are the best ways to do it, of course. Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Revolut. We have a link for those of you for credit or debit. If not, we also have super chats and super stickers. We have super thanks. So if you catch us on a replay and you donate any of the ways, we will read it tomorrow, of course, because we always read them. It's my way of saying thank you. I don't read government names. So if your name comes in, I'm not going to read your real name. I'll just say anonymous, because I don't think anybody should, you know, be a target of the ridiculous and absurdity. So don't worry about that. I love all your stinking faces, and I will see you guys at 8:30 in the morning tomorrow. In the meantime, you know how to get in touch with me. Everything you need to know on how to get in touch with me is in the description of the video. Also, the ways to donate are in the video as well, description, and also the description on the channel itself on YouTube. So until tomorrow morning, I will see you guys 8:30 a.m. Bye, everybody.